Hello?
Hello, this is Marcy Gregg.
I don't think they've started yet, Marcy.
Oh, okay.
You don't have your phone up here, do you? Then turn it down. So in case, are you going to stay or turn it down? Or mute or whatever.
This is a treat. It's almost like normal. Yep. We're getting better. Get your shot. You already had every bug in the world.
I always have that reaction to this flu shot.
Yeah.
And they say,
You're already like, yeah.
I spent 2.5 years in the jungle. I caught it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. You can see it. It's weird, isn't it?
I showed you that picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they say you have everybody has a twin, right?
Yeah.
There you go. He's here. Russ is standing right there, but I don't know where he went. Vernon.
He's probably standing behind me, you just can't see him.
That's right.
But he's about 7 feet.
I started saying, yeah, because you're so tall like him. I know, I feel really silly standing next to that man. Hi, Vernon, what are you doing today up here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he is here.
Okay, well, I just need to grab him before you leave, because we need to talk about the internet down here.
Oh, okay.
So, go on, we,
Okay.
Take a look at it
yep,
when
there's
you're
the
sitting there
door.
waiting.
Past the deck to come through the door.
Yeah.
You don't wanna miss a second of this. There he is.
I like this setup. Yeah.
Right.
I wasn't sure, I just want throwing things together.
Gonna do the right thing. How many you get in here? 22. Back.
He used up all the cookie chairs. I always cough around a group of people.
Turn off your fingers. It's church, everybody's pretty quiet. We haven't even started yet.
For you to not talking.
Okay, we'll get started here in a minute, just so you know, you keep your mask off. We got this, and we did have the public health director check out our, and the number of people we can have, or was it 22? I think, something like that, and if you feel comfortable wear a mask. So, we might as well get started. I'll turn up my volume a little bit. And if I get too quiet, I've asked Tina to help me talk louder, and all three of us up here, so that you can hear us. And then, be sure to speak up if you have questions as well. So, I'm Bill Camden, County Commissioner, and I will call this meeting to order now of the Custer County Board of Commissioners on Wednesday, February the 17th, 2021. And it's 9 o'clock. And I appreciate everybody being here, and if you've got a cell phone on, make sure your ringer's on. It's okay. I've been guiltier than heck of, not getting that done, throwing my darn phone into the garbage can. And it shows it's pretty broken. So if we get started, Dallas, how about the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like like to welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. This is like near normal. We just made a statement on that a few minutes ago. And our county's doing really well. You all have been doing a good job of keeping away from the bug and staying away from people that have the bug, actually. And we're doing really well. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And we have a Board of Health meeting following this, so we'll talk in detail there if you want to come back to the Board of Health. So, with that, pledge, a roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Kanda?
Here.
Commissioner Flower?
Present.
Commissioner Day?
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith?
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Okay, and audience introductions, if just do me a favor, say your name pretty loud so Kelly can hear. And then, once she's got it, get to that. So let's start over here.
John Squire, Wetmore. Dallas Anderson. Linda Anderson.
Kayla Day?
Okay, go ahead, say it again.
Say it again, Alden.
Say it again, Alden. Say your name again. There, you got it.
I've got him. I've got most everybody.
Dakota Castillo, Wetmore.
Okay, we'll go back over here.
Nan Davenport, Wetmore. Kim and Debbie Easterling.
Tracy Ballard, the Valley East.
Ann Barthorpe. Dennis Sprecher, Landfill,
Okay, that's everybody.
Tim and Debbie, what's your last name? Easterling.
Everybody, you get everybody down?
Yep.
And, if there's somebody online, I don't know if you know, if they have a question, we'll ask, their name and that. So, we're good there. Okay, any items on the agenda, guys? Kevin?
None here.
Tom? Okay, all right, minutes.
I had a set,
You
but I
had a set,
finished them last night and I didn't want to dump them on you at the last minute,
Okay,
so.
good. All right, okay, we're good there. Items, Tom?
Thank you, Chairman, I appreciate that. Got a couple of questions. We did send out, Tina said she sent Christie an email copy of the letter requesting the extension. I see there was a change of date from March 31st to December 1st, is that correct? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I had to clarify that with, Christie and Dale, both, we had a conversation about it, and that gives, the adequate time to get the things done and started on the contracting process, so they thought that it was more prudent to do that, Christie especially, because asking for another year when we are as close as we are, as long as it works better politically with Christie.
Yeah, when I got to look at that March, I think it's March 30th.
31st.
I thought, well, a little early to get contracting, we probably won't get an answer on the extension for 2 or 3 weeks, so I think that was probably a good change there. And then I see that my neighbor's cover's on the agenda. Did we get any hard copy of that proposal from Ms. Ballard?
Tracy,
I'm sorry?
he's asking if, talking about my Mother Hubbard's covers.
My neighbor's covered.
Yeah, I know. And did you have a handout for us? You're on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm on the agenda. I didn't have anything in addition. I was just gonna answer any questions you may have. I sent an email to all 3 of you last week. I didn't know if you had received it, because I didn't hear anything back. Clarifying, I showed you my food handler, certificate.
Right.
Answered the question regarding, food items and how long they are able to be kept, and things of that nature. And I cleaned up the basement, and,
Yeah, I just didn't see any in the board packet, so I didn't know if I missed some hard copy of what you were presenting today or not. That was
No,
my question.
no.
Okay.
Right, I guess, I'll clarify that. We only have one thing in the board packet, because that was all that was available and necessary, I guess. And if we have other issues, we'll bring it up. We'll try to talk louder, because I know you're having a little bit of a problem. And what Tom asked for in the beginning, that was a question. contracting, we asked for an extension because COVID slowed things down and we weren't able to complete some of the, process of getting the application ready to submit. That's what it's about. Yeah, that was what it was. Thank you. So we'll try to keep talking. Go ahead again.
And then, I did a little research on this proposed $1.9 trillion aid package that, the federal government is considering. If some or part of that is actually approved by Congress, it looks like Custer County will be in line to receive $991,000 of that money. And then the two municipalities will also receive some of that funding, so,
That much,
we'll see, yeah.
that's twice what we got the first time.
So there were, I think there were 9 or 10 counties in Colorado scheduled to get under $1 million. The other 52 or 3 counties were all over $1 million, based on population and unemployment records combined.
Dallas?
And what is all that money gonna do for every citizen of the county?
That will be a question you need to ask this commission, in my opinion, if and when we get that money. That's the $1 million question. What in the world would we do with $991,000?
That's my question.
And in fact, we had that same question when we got it the first time. And, so now it's, we're in the recovery part, so I suspect a lot of our discussion will involve that.
Based on a population of 4,700 people, that's $215 a person, so it's not gonna be significant individually. So hopefully we can find a way to use that money to have significant impact in our county.
Help us grow back.
And then I had on my agenda to ask you about the results of your meeting with the sheriff and the Office of Emergency Management, and then I see yesterday Shannon sent
I sent out a note first.
an email about that, so.
Did you see my email?
And then, my calendar, let's see, I did attend that SCED meeting on the 8th of February. I did today. On the 10th,
Was there anything to talk about in this?
It was attainable housing, affordable housing, dealing with discussion about how best to move forward using the lots that the county owns and the county owns. The 10th, attended the opioid regional meeting. Attorney General Weiser was on that call, as was today. I thought that was a good meeting. Patrick Fiore is involved in that, so, it's good to have him, representing us. And then on the 11th, DOLA sponsored a Custer County Roadmap to Recovery meeting. Talked about moving forward with some kind of a grant-funded program. It's really a planning grant to determine what we can do in Custer County, as far as opioid abuse goes, so.
How big the grant?
Didn't have a dollar figure attached to it, still, it's kind of still in the works, so. We have filled out and submitted our pre-application, so we are in the mix of that. Also attended the Upper Ark Water meeting, on the 11th, that was a Zoom meeting as well. And Justice Center committee meeting on the 12th, weed board meeting we had yesterday, so that's my calendar, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. I was gonna have Kevin go next. First wanna say, it's an honor to head up commissioners. They only drove 10 minutes to work. And he setting up things, he actually did all this work that you see. But I think he had some good help.
Probably closer to 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, all right, all right.
I just went.
I wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt, you could have walked.
I went by his house, it takes you 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He's drinking too much.
Anyway, go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you.
Got anything to bring up for?
The meetings Tom mentioned, I was at, I think, 3 of those same meetings with him. The only difference, is, on the 11th, I also attended, part of the Custer County Kids Council, meeting. Not able to attend the whole thing, but, it was a good meeting. She's doing quite a few good things. I do have a couple other things, and I think I sent an email out. I got notified that the VSO website is expiring, and, I wanted to visit and see if that is something, because, that the county wants to pick up, because, if not, it will expire. The license for that website will expire.
You know how much it is?
I do not, to be honest with you. I don't think they're very expensive, but if the county would have to take that over and maintain the website. At this time,
Or we turn it back to the VSO?
yes, when the VSO
We
came online, they could maintain the website. So, I wanted to discuss that because it expires, I believe, on the 29th
This month,
of this month.
or 29th this month.
Okay, I need to find my email there.
Yeah, I think there was,
It may have been the 27th. But it expires here before the end of this month. I can look that up here as we're meeting and let you know. But, the 21st, that sounds better.
yeah, like, almost tomorrow.
So, if we're gonna do that, we kinda need to decide that we're gonna do it and get that taken care of.
I don't think there's a reason we can't decide to do that. It's not a, requirement. I don't know, Clint, do we need to give a 24-hour notice on a agreement to pay the ticket on our website?
I don't know offhand. I suppose it probably should be an agenda item to do it.
We could just put it on the next meeting agenda, and, I don't know if we want to expire, but I think we'll leave it.
Expired. Dallas is right, tomorrow's the last business day.
So if you expire, we could go ahead.
I think we could direct it,
Try
or
to do it.
deal with it myself.
Yeah, I think so.
It's very small.
It's just a routine business operation. You're not making major policy decision here.
Without objection, I would just recommend that we
I agree.
ask Vern with, that.
I agree. Kevin, any issue with that?
No. And if I'd have kept reading my notes, I had it here on the 21st, because the VFW is the one that has been maintaining that site. So, my apologies for not seeing my own notes here.
I'll forward this on to Vern and we'll ask him to
Do it.
Thank you, Tom.
you bet. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And, I think the contact person there is, James Phelps.
Yeah.
I also, a couple more items to bring up real quick. Our Ruth Roper has been, she tried to go for a GOCO grant last year for some playground equipment down here. If you take a look back over here, this stuff that we've got is getting in awful bad shape, and she's been trying, the problem with that last year is, GOCO funded, I think, 5 major projects last year. And they did not, we were a small item, so they did not fund anything here. She is going to attempt to grab another GOCO grant for some playground equipment.
That's the only kind of grant that would do that.
It is probably not the only one. That's,
Cover bets with another application too.
it would be good if we could find somewhere else to go as well. GOCO handles a lot of playground equipment. I know they've done a bunch for schools and things of that nature and outdoor projects, so, that's the one that she has been pursuing.
We sponsored that, didn't we? Yeah, no, handling.
The grant he's talking about, not for the playground, for this.
I know the courthouse is working a grant as well, but that was a different grant. It might be.
I think it was through Human Services.
Right.
So, but, she's looking for something here to replace some of the stuff. We've replaced the seats on the swings because they were getting in terrible shape, but the other stuff is in bad shape. And, the system she's looking at runs right now in the neighborhood of 12 and a half. So 12 and a half, $15,000, and, so, you know, that's a small project unless you don't have $15,000, and that's a large project, so, I
Tell you
just.
what, why don't you have her talk to Tina? Tina's been doing a lot of research, and she could probably help a little bit.
Okay, I appreciate that, so that's one of the things that they've been trying to do down here for some years now, is to upgrade some of that, and different things just keep coming up and getting in the way, and I just, wanted to bring that before you guys. And then, the TV towers up on the lookout. I got some calls on that. I guess KKTV was out up there in the valley for about 4 days over the weekend. When Roger left, Vince inherited that job, yes. And, he spent all day yesterday taking parts to Springs and trying to get repairs made. I had to run back up this morning with some more stuff. And
Back to
the Springs. And the gentleman that repairs those up in Springs is probably
Out of
not.
business.
Well, he's been retired for some time, and he's doing this. He works on our system. I guess Walsenburg is the same system as ours. They're obsolete. The warehouse where he used to get his parts is now no longer. So he's shopping online for parts, trying to get parts to fix these things. In visiting with Roger yesterday, I guess these are an analog digital conversion, and when we put them in is when everything went digital. So, that's an issue.
Need to upgrade is what you're saying.
I think those are probably gonna need upgraded, and, I'm curious to know if maybe we shouldn't find somebody that knows more about what's going on there to service those. Like Vince says, I'm an old rancher that runs equipment at the county, and he says, I have no idea what I'm looking at when I get up there. So, I don't know if that could be an issue here in the future, and just like now, he spent 2 days that he's not taking care of road and bridge business, trying to keep those towers going.
I think we need to probably do that. Probably need to do some research, get some guys in here and figure out who to contact, make a couple bids on it, figure out what we're gonna do. It's something we need to do.
I do believe, another update since I put this on here, I think that Gary was going to try to contact KKTV and KRDO to see if they would be willing to do some upgrades. It is my understanding, though, that we own that equipment, not them. And possibly they might even be willing to take that on. If not,
Or give us recommendations.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. Can we get Vince to, or you, or somebody to, bring that to the next meeting?
Yeah, either him or myself, I'll get with him and see what they come up with on that other, so,
And, put it on the agenda.
okay.
Yeah, I've been in that building, that equipment looks like 3 days to the bank.
Yeah, it does.
I think about half of it's not even operational, but I think,
The first thing we should do, and do our due diligence, is try to determine how many people in this county utilize that. I question the need for it in this day and age. Thank God the one neighbor I had moved to Pueblo West, so I didn't have to listen to him complain about not getting free TV on his end.
Well, that is a point, but point two, that I know of is, it is a requirement in any of that agreement, because not everybody could afford direct TV and those kinds of things. So, I don't know why, we somehow picked up the wave bending job way back in the 50s. That's a good point. But there are, I'm sure there's more than 5 left, I don't know.
and Vernon also mentioned, I've been visiting with a lot of people over since I started getting calls on it. We do have some retired, communications people and, in the valley and stuff, and, might be a possibility that somebody like that would be willing to step in and, take care of the maintenance on it or something like that, so. But if we could get that on an agenda, we could, discuss it further.
Get a poll. Okay,
That's all I have.
great. Well, my main thing, to bring up is, the fact that, I wanted to congratulate you for being on duty and here. We talked about that already, Kevin. Thanks for being on the board. Great to have you. Also, with regret, I would like to now. Go ahead.
We get my free TV here. You know, if I'm taking your antennas out, we get free TV. We don't have to pay for direct TV.
Right. Yeah, it's still a necessity.
I'm surprised if you get it from Lookout Mountain, though. I get it from,
Yeah, right, you're getting a direct signal here as opposed to, bending the wave, we used to call it in the valley.
Ours is a little more reliable than on the other side of the mountain.
Yeah, probably, right. You're paying for that privilege by helping fix it. All right, also, Donna Hobby decided to retire, if you haven't heard that already, we're gonna discuss that, that's why it's on the agenda today, we're really regret accepting her desire to go to wherever she wants to go now, as opposed to work. She was sure should be commended that she was the first to be at work and the last to leave, and even on the holiday. So it's with a big, amount of regret that I, announce that to you all. In addition, we've also got to look for her deputy, because she decided to also resign at the same time. So we've got to have 2 vacancies we'll discuss here a little later. Also wanted to thank, the Westmore crew down here for the chicken noodle soup that I'm looking forward to. And then we did have a Justice Center, meeting, during the week, as they mentioned already. We're gonna discuss, there was a couple snafus on the contract, that's not a big deal, and Clint and, AM will be discussing that. But more importantly, you all are aware that we have a Justice Center in the strategic plan and in the works. We started, yesterday with, our first set of meetings to bring the public up to speed by getting a hold of the news media in the valley. And, Sheriff Byerly, myself, Judge, Amanda Hunter, and, Lisa, our state, justice, clerk, forget you, not a clerk, but
She's the court administrator.
court administrator, that's the word I was looking for, did, brief each of them separately to bring them up to speed on exactly what the plan is and how it is, so that they can cover, that in the newspapers and bring the people up to speed. There'll be a series of other events, like, town halls to discuss it. We've got 2 contracts right now, that are grants on the books with, engineering firms and And then, had a request for a, item, and we'll bring it up at this point, make the announcement. They're looking for, a sanctuary, Second Amendment, resolve of a Second Amendment sanctuary county for the Second Amendment. So, we'll see those people that are suggesting that, if they want to bring some form of a request to us, we'll have Clint, take a look at it, and we'll discuss whether we want to go down that route or not in another meeting. If you have a question, down.
From what I read in the paper, I got the impression that it was a request for, First Amendment sanctuary. We are already a Second Amendment sanctuary county.
There's, no, it's, what wasn't, what I thought was Second Amendment, there is a First Amendment request as well, that I'm aware of. I don't know that we are, I don't think we're a sanctuary county, I think we are a red, what was the, what we passed before, red law, red flag.
This new one is in regards to House Bill 127.
120, thank you, Clint.
Federal.
127.
It's a federal.
This was 3 or 4 years ago.
That's,
A resolution was.
In 2019, there was a resolution designating Custer County as a Second Amendment sanctuary county.
Yeah,
well, that's the case, I just said there's a, I wasn't aware of that.
Well, and I can speak to that on attorney items.
Okay, that's why. And I think that's all that I need to bring up, a lot of the, of course, we're not worried about, right? All right, so let's press on. Attorney item.
Okay, well, to deal with that, there was a resolution passed in 2019 that designates Custer County as a Second Amendment sanctuary county. Chris Bryson, county employee actually, but acting as a private citizen, spoke to the board and asked for the board to consider a resolution opposing a House bill that's been introduced into Congress, the United States Congress, severely limiting Second Amendment rights, I mean, almost to the ridiculous level. And what I did was, he had a proposed resolution, and you had directed me to work with him. I took that and I reworded it and changed it a little bit. And it's tentatively as an agenda item at the next meeting on February 26th, subject to whether or not you decide you want to consider that. But I did put that together, after looking at what Mr. Bryson had, and it's not the same thing as declaring Custer County a Second Amendment sanctuary county again. Instead it's just stating the opposition to this proposed federal legislation. Yesterday I worked with, I got a request from the Undersheriff, Robert Hill, to review a proposed grant from the USDA to purchase a vehicle. I looked at that. I had to fill out a certification by the county attorney, which I did and got it to him, and got his thank you this morning. I worked with Jackie Hobby and Vic Barnes.
Say, before you do that,
Yeah.
on that, is is the county sponsored, because I did talk to Bob about that, and I happened to talk to you. Is there, does he have to come back for a signature from a county point of view to get that?
No, I think it'll just be the sheriff's signature.
Good.
So the way the form that I looked at just required the sheriff's signature and mine. Worked with Jackie Hobby and Vic Barnes yesterday on an issue that had come up about a proposed application for a special use permit. After looking into it, I convinced them it wasn't really necessary in this particular instance. Because it was really a modification of one, and the one that's already in existence is sufficient to cover what the individual wanted to do. Jackie and I, just in the very preliminary stages of talking about revising the on-site wastewater treatment system regulations. They haven't been reviewed for a while, and they need to be reviewed, and they need to be brought under the control of the Board of Health rather than the Board of County Commissioners. So I'll be working on that with her. I talked to Ann Barthrop yesterday about the Justice Center, some legal issues there. And yesterday also I attended the weed board meeting as a member of the weed board. To get back to the Justice Center, I see that's at the very end of the agenda. We got a long agenda today. I have a doctor's appointment in Pueblo at 1:15, so I have to leave here at 12:30 at the very latest to make that. So I'm just bringing that up because our meetings have a tendency to run a little bit long, but if you want to consider moving that up to talk about it, that
We sure can. I know there's not a lot of, some of these will go fairly fast, I think.
okay. Well, I'm just saying we'll see where we are on
See
it.
where we are. You gotta be in Pueblo at
1:15.
so you gotta leave here by noon or so.
Well, 12:30 I can probably make it going fast, which is how I do it all the time anyway. I mean, I'm a lawyer. We're immune to all the laws that apply to other people.
He needs that document.
Okay, that's all I had. Yeah, that's everything I had.
So is planning and zoning having their hearing on the 1st of March, considering this SUP that you mentioned today?
No, the one today, I convinced them they didn't need to take any action on it, so the one that's 1st of March is a different one.
Okay, thanks. Tina?
Yes, I wanted to bring, information to the BOCC about 6 months performance review. Okay, wanted to talk to you about, 6-month performance reviews and annual performance reviews for the county employees who report to the BOCC. So I gave you a report that shows their date of hire, when their 6-month performance review would be, and then when their annual performance review would be, so you guys would decision.
Okay, yeah, we could consider that in a workshop, if we decide to have a workshop.
Okay.
Good to get the data, thank you.
You want to put that on the regular agenda, meeting agenda and talk about it, or no?
Well, if we're gonna modify things, I don't know that we need 6-month reviews, that's something we need to talk about. I thought if we're in a quarter workshop, we could do it, and then decide that we would consider it. Because I agree, it has to be on a video.
Well, we're supposed to do a 6-month review, according to personnel policy.
On everybody? Okay.
Now, take my name off there. She's got me on there. You can't do a review of me.
That's true. It needs to be on the
Please.
agenda, so we can discuss.
You did have a question mark by your name.
I see. For these folks, by the way, I saw Kit Shy yesterday, and he had lunch with John Naylor, and John is doing good, so since all of you know John very well, I just wanted to report that.
Good, thanks. Anything else, Tina? And, for those of you that don't know Tina, this is the first time we've all been together, Tina is our BOCC admin, Tina Jones. And she, is seeing snow for the first time. She's from Missouri.
Yeah, we don't get high, we don't get much snow.
And actually, they're having worse weather than we are.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we're glad to have Tina on board. How many days, weeks have you been on board?
This is my 8th week.
Okay. All right, any, public comments before we get started, that anybody has to bring up that we can consider at another time?
I just wanted to make a statement. I was one of the ones that was in the meeting yesterday on the Justice Center, the proposed Justice Center. And I just want to say I was extremely impressed as a citizen with how well prepared, the proposal is and how fiscally responsible, the, committee is being in making that decision. And I think, you'll be really impressed with what the proposal is. So, I just wanted to commend the committee on that.
Thank you, and thank you, committee. There's a couple of them in here, I guess. And thanks, pass it on. Anybody else? Okay, thank
Do you
you.
have any idea how many people called in?
I think there was two of them. I don't know.
When he turned it on, there was 3, yeah.
There's no way to tell. Okay, well, let's move on then. And, first, any unfinished business that we've never had, but we keep it on the agenda. And, I guess that brings us on to the new business. So without further ado, all this consideration of the county COVID restriction it was just my suggestion to put it on so that you all understood. And we're gonna have a Board of Health meeting after this meeting, this afternoon at 1:30. So, you can stick around and we're gonna discuss more with Dr. Brown here and give the statistics and all that of how we stand. But it's important for everybody to know that because you've been doing such a good job, we have moved from orange to yellow to blue now. And blue is a significant step because it opens up the businesses to 50% now. And, a few other things that gives a little more ability to do economically recovery, and keep our business going, so that's good news. It's gonna be, the state did, redo the criteria for small counties because, one change and one positive case can significantly change your percentages of whether you're good or bad. And so they're trying to recognize that with what we are. So if you do come this afternoon, we can understand more of what it takes to go green, which is what I would like to see as soon as we can, of course, everybody does. And it may not be possible given, the criteria, so it would be good to understand that. Any comments?
Well, I wondered if we should have on the agenda item here discussion of this consideration. Are we ever gonna vote on,
That would be a Board of Health thing first, wouldn't it?
COVID stuff,
Yeah, we would.
or restrictions, so
Yeah, it should be discussed.
maybe discussion would be the better
Yeah,
term there.
because that right now, we're not ready until we understand what the various requirements would be to go green. And that's what I want to try to understand this afternoon when we discuss.
Consideration indicates.
Usually it'd be
vote on
voting,
it,
yeah.
so, I prefer that to say discussion.
And actually, even a discussion could lead to a vote, I guess.
Well, my point is, do we have any business voting on that?
Right,
stuff?
no.
If we don't, then I don't think it should be on the.
I agree.
Consideration.
I agree. Okay, any questions on that right now?
I would just, side note, I think Fremont County went blue this morning,
Did they really?
6 o'clock this morning, so, they are, and I believe.
Following the pack, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, actually, significant changes, I had understood. Statewide took a big dive, so we'll see if that leads to better things. I'm just a little worried that if we start worrying about chasing some other flu bug, they'll wanna keep us under some. That's just my opinion. Gotta watch it.
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of those county commissioners down there in Fremont County, and that's a huge thing for them because of their prison population. That's been killing their numbers, so.
Sure has.
Captive audience.
Captive recovery. Okay, well, given that, this next item is a follow-up on the, what we did, on our last board meeting, which was to open up the county building to have it optional, your choice, either come in, wear a mask, or stay home. And so, to be consistent, we put this on the agenda to discuss and consider making the requirement countywide, building, not the county. Misunderstanding that.
County building.
And so the county buildings would be, what we discussed about it, is know what we're talking about. Which buildings are those? That would be the road and bridge, the VSO, the sheriff's office, or,
Airport maintenance building.
airport, the, SAR building.
Technically, this building is a county building.
This one here. We'll talk louder. He said this one here is a county building too. I'm sorry, I'll put on the
Courthouse is what
Courthouse.
we did last meeting.
Sheriff's Office, I mentioned, I didn't say it loud enough, the search and rescue building we leased. That's our building. Keep that up on the agenda.
Yeah, we never had that. Fire department?
No. Fire department, their own. Well, and then maybe put a clause in then, and if there's one left out, if we want to overlook one. So, I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I would make a motion that we make it recommended to wear masks in county-owned buildings in Custer County, rather than mandatory.
Do we say, recommended, or, an optional, how do we phrase it? Recommended,
I'll second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to make all county-owned buildings, that they become recommended to wear masks. Any discussion? Do, go ahead.
So currently, governors, Order 20-36, which was amended February 12th, 2021, mandates mask wearing in all public indoor spaces in Colorado. Obviously, we've said in meetings where we've been threatened, if we don't follow the governor's mandates, there's a good chance we might have our grant funding withheld. I don't know if this is worth a potential $991,000 decision, but I'm sick and tired of having to wear a mask, and I'm sick and tired of being told what the governor says. But if that's what we believe our constituents think we should do, I truly believe there is some risk, not very much, but I think there is a risk that the state of Colorado could look at the counties and say, you defied the mandates for COVID, don't believe you're gonna be eligible for some funding. I don't know that. I think it could happen. I wouldn't put anything past them. I've already been yelled at. My email's blown up over the fact that we are ignoring governor's orders, mandates, when we voted to change the mask requirement from required to recommended just for the courthouse. I'm willing to take some more shots.
Good. I didn't read that, mandate, in the past, when I have read, when they call it a mandate, and they go into the paragraph that says it's recommended to do that. I don't know how this.
I did read it, it is required.
And it's a mandate, actually, a governor's order, I think somebody said it was, the same as the variance. What do you think, Clint, is it law or?
They say it's law, but it's not an enforceable law the way it's written. That's been my position from the beginning with all of these executive orders coming down from the governor.
Even the governor said it, said that.
What, that it's not a law?
It's not enforceable.
Well,
Yeah, even the governor said it wasn't enforceable.
All the big talk.
Yeah.
State legislature sure as heck hasn't passed any laws.
if you wanted to really get tough, you'd have to pass your own ordinance and
Right.
enforce it
Then
that
you'd
way.
have to figure out how to enforce it.
Yeah, and then you'd have to have some kind of enforcement mechanism, hire somebody to do that, which would make you very popular with the citizens when you're going around issuing citations and making arrests.
Any questions, Dallas, did you have something to say?
I just have a comment, the one good thing about these governor's orders, according to the Colorado Constitution, laws are governor does not have the power to, place anything as a law. Doesn't have that authority, so.
And
He
I'll
was
make,
right when he said his orders are not enforceable. And he said that 5 or 6 times.
several times. And the reason he has, and I'll make one comment on this, too. We did have a meeting when COVID first hit, and, we were looking at, eventually, we have to recover, and so you gotta make plans to recover. That was misunderstood, reported to the state, and they said, the county wants to throw off the restrictions. So we were immediately called to task, the commissioners were, to have a meeting with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, the lady that chief of that. And she went through the process of saying, well, you guys you don't want to do this, it's hard, everybody's gonna do it. But then she started mentioning the same thing Tom did, which was, you guys could put at risk your ability to get recovery money. And that's when I said, that's extortion. And it is. But they know that because, and her next words were, well, Tom took a different tack and said, well, it is possible, blah, blah, blah. And we understand what you're up against, and please be patient. So I think I agree with what we've said here, and it's, to me, with 50% ability that right now to keep working the way we are and doing what we are doing, I think, yes, that's a better risk of doing it better and healthily, than, I think we can make more than $900,000, which we depend on. But anyway, I don't think we're at that big a risk like Tom said, chance, not that big. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. Tom? Kanda, aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, this proposed Board of Health bill, I don't really understand what that is. Do you know what that was?
No,
No, I don't think so. What, you know?
no, when, at the last meeting, you guys threw out several things to put on the agenda, and that was just one of the ones I wrote down, and, I truly don't remember what that was.
Board of Health bill.
Board of Health bill, is, taking the Board of Health, taking all county commissioners, one of the main things is taking county commissioners off of the Board of Health.
Oh, yeah, that was, a proposed, yeah, now I recall. There was a proposal, hasn't been discussed in the legislature yet, and all the counties are up in arms about it because the legislature wants to take and own every county Board of Health here, and put in a permanent Board of Health of that aren't elected, and make them, almost impossible to fire. The only way you can get rid of them is if they're incompetent mentally or retired. You remember seeing that?
Yes.
Well, that's what it was, and when I called the state up, and I called CTI up on it, they told me that there isn't a count, they're all colors of county, blue and red are all against that proposal way of the written. And it was good that our voice be known, and I think we put it on here, that if we wanted to write a letter, I think that's what I said, and just write a notification that this county is in line with what I'm not doing. So do we need a vote to do that? Probably, don't you think, if we decide that we want to put our opinion to the state.
It may be premature at this point, since nothing is actually, solid up there, but for the benefit of the audience, rural counties that's under 100,000 population, have the option, the county commissioners of appointing themselves to sit as the Board of Health. This would take that away and say the county commissioners cannot appoint themselves. They would have to appoint a separate Board of Health. That's what the proposal is, but it's nothing is concrete yet, so my recommendation would be you wait on a little while and see where that goes.
And I think they already know, they've got a lot of phone calls like I did, they know where our opinions are. I think you're right, I think we can probably not do this right now. Just,
Well, no, I haven't checked into it. You may or may not know, the state legislature went back into session yesterday. This bill was assigned a number, House Bill 21-1115. Two Democratic sponsors. I suspect that the Trade Association for all Colorado Counties, which is Colorado Counties Incorporated, will come out in a position to oppose this bill. We've got legislative hearings coming up, in March, so I agree with council, I think it's a little early to get panicked about this, but, be very surprised if it ever gets out.
yeah, I think that's what they're thinking.
They don't like it, that's for sure, and we actually talked about this way before it ever
Came up.
got to this point, and, decided this county didn't want any part of that chip and all of the two, House Republicans, those Democrats.
Matter of fact, after hearing all that, what they reported, they dug even in harder. They galvanized the heck with what the public opinion was perceived with that. Sounds like they did.
Yeah, you can look that bill up if you're interested, it's posted now, it's been signed in.
21-1115, go ahead now.
Yeah, well, my recommendation is action is the thing to do. I recommend that you do write a letter, send it to whomever it's supposed to go to, that, I'm against it.
Yep, keep our eye on it.
And most everybody that lives around me is against that.
Sure. Okay, thanks. Next up, recycling grant. Who's got that? Way in the back.
Want me to come up there?
Yeah, come on up here, so everybody can hear you. Why don't you stand up here and tell us what you got?
Well, I'm number 3 on the list. Ryan couldn't make it, and Joni couldn't make it.
So do you know anything about it?
Oh, yeah, I know about it.
Introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm Dennis Sprecher, I'm recycling coordinator for the county. I work out the landfill, recycling cardboard mostly. The proposal is we want to build a new building out there because our cardboard has increased double since I started. And I have a handout here for you so you can kind of, see what the difference is. And you started in 2001, right? I mean, 1901.
He is recycled.
The day before I started, yeah. We are recycled. This is my report, but it also pertains to the building because on the left, down on the left-hand corner is when I started, how much cardboard we did. And, what it is now. The proposal is
Why don't you tell everybody what that is? We could read it, maybe. How many bales, what's the progress been in recycling?
well, actually in 2012, I made, roughly a little over 100 bales a year. As of this year, I'm up to 315 bales, which constitutes 255,000 pounds of cardboard.
How much money did that cost?
Well, we did better this year than, the last few years. We made $9,842.
On cardboard?
On cardboard. The price, it's new money, it goes straight to the budget or to
The general fund?
General
County.
the proposal with Joni and the new recycling people, the,
Tenacious Unicorn.
well, no, the ones that are doing our.
Oh, Tenacious Unicorn.
Yeah, the unicorn, we need a new building, mainly because our building is just small now. It's all handgun, we do it by blade labor, physical labor, me and volunteers. I have 2 full-time volunteers, basically, and anybody else will come in. And like I say, we're up to 255,000 pounds we handle by hand. We do have a skid steer that we load the bales on the trucks with and everything. But the idea is to get us a new building. I haven't read everything that Joni has said on here, but it appears to be a 40 by 80 foot building, so that he can install a horizontal baler in the future.
The one we had was a used when we got it.
Yeah, it was used, and basically that's probably what it is, baler too, again. Small version, it can bale everything. Right now, our baler can only do cardboard, plastic, bags, maybe paper, but the primary is, cardboard. The idea is that the Unicorn, they wanna start doing cans and everything, and then we can bale them, and they can take them to an end user and sell them. I don't have anything to do with that portion of it. My portion is the cardboard, paper, and,
But it would enable another source of revenue for the county and recycling.
that's my impression of it, yeah. I'm not sure why Unicorn would wanna do something where there's no money involved, but, I would think it all has to go to the county. But the idea is they want the administrative assistant, Joni will get together to make a proposal that has to be done by next Friday to the state for a grant to build this building.
Have you started that grant process? Application?
Joni has got all the information here, she's already got all the legwork.
You haven't talked to Tina yet?
But no, I don't think she's talked to Tina yet. She tried to call, but apparently the call didn't get through. But, anyway, this is the proposal right here. I've got one copy that you guys can have, because we made it out this morning. It's on Brian's printer, and it's, kind of a small printer, so.
So is this grant just for the building, or is it also for the
It's supposed to be for the grant for the building and for the, baler.
So that she's got a good start, or he does, I should say, on the grant.
Well, Joni, so.
Joni did.
She used, and so my job is to find out if you guys will accept making a grant proposal to the state to give money to build this building.
Is this a matching grant? Is this,
As far as I know, it's a full grant, so we don't have to match anything. You will have to front the money, just like we did on
Well,
the.
it's a reimbursable grant, we spend it, we get it back. And that's how most of them equally, other than that. Tracy?
I just wanted to ask, how much is the grant for?
I don't know if we have the figure yet exactly on everything. It's roughly, I'm guessing, in the $300,000 range. This is for a machine and a building.
Yeah, they've got, 6 X, yet they haven't got it nailed down, but.
It's not totally done yet. One of the problems is, maybe you don't know, we're waiting for an engineering study on the landfill. Well, we know where to put this building. We have a good idea, and we're pretty sure nothing's gonna happen there, but we still don't have that report. And we don't know for sure where we're gonna put our next trench in at, which is pretty close to where this building is gonna be.
But that would be okay, wherever it ends up.
Right.
You gotta move stuff anyway,
Yeah, we would adjust for it. It's basically right there by where I do my job now, and where we stack all the bales and everything, it's in that general area. Just as you come in the gate on the left, just a little to the east.
It's still gonna be used as a garage for the loader.
It's not the plan, but the building it's in now, it would be.
They're gonna leave it alone.
Yeah, that'll be left alone. They wanted to add to this building, and I said, no, it has to be a separate building, because this horizontal baler has to have a footprint that we can get around it with the machine. The idea is, we can, we're all old, we're getting old. And, I'm probably the youngest guy there, and I'm 70. And we're lifting 255,000 pounds of cardboard. We wanna try to make this a one-man operation, where a skid steer here, the grapple, load the cardboard into the machine, and bale it.
Questions? Go ahead, let's see if we got, can't remember your first name.
Correct. My recycling thing that I do plastic, I do cardboard, I do glass, I do newspapers, I do magazines. Everything that I do, I take it into Canyon, because we have nothing here. Now Canyon doesn't even do glass, so I've got a whole trash can of glass, and I guess I would have to take the dump when I go to the dump, and the dump in Canyon charges you $15 for every 500 pounds. So whenever I get 500 pounds, I'll fill my glass, and then take it to Canyon for the recycle. It'd be nice to have something here, just some cans of glass.
The problem we're having right now is glass, we don't have an end user. We used to take all our brown glass, which is beer bottle type stuff, up to, Wheat Ridge in Denver, which is Coors, glass building, that's their glass plant. And that's where they would take the brown glass, but the, other glass, I don't even know who's taking that now. And there's supposedly someone in Inglewood up in Denver that's doing it, but we don't make enough glass to really justify taking a whole load up there. It may take us a year to get a whole load up, because we're gonna crush it. That's the only way you can handle it, is crush. And that might take a whole year to load a trailer up with glass in that state. And I don't know, you just don't have an end user for glass. But you can, the closest one I know that's free is Salida.
Salida takes everything.
Right there at the steam plant, you can take your glass.
Cost more than $15.
Right there.
Yeah.
I drove up and back on a gallon and a half.
But you got a tiny motorcycle.
Dennis, can you talk to us about the status of plastic recycling, not necessarily countywide, but state and national?
What I know about plastic, like bags, there's no, infrastructure in this state, in the country. Most of it all went to China, all that stuff. Well, obviously, they cut us out. They wanted less than 0.5% contamination in their stuff. There's no way we could do that, less than 0.5% contamination and that's before they would accept it, let alone, and they may not even accept it when it gets there, so that ended that. And there's just no infrastructure for plastic bags, the same with most of plastic, except for the, what we call ones and twos, which is the bottles there and clear stuff and milk jugs and that sort. There is an end user for them, but everything else is just nothing that's there. We would just have to give it away. We would have to, and then we'd have to charge. So we just to
haul it away.
Just to haul it away, and we aren't doing that right now, except for the.
Well, I just comment, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I had a long, probably an hour conversation with Joni Heeman about this whole thing. At the end of that conversation, I told her I would support a motion to, as for the commissioners to support this grant process, which is what we're talking about here. There's a lot of stuff that's gonna end up being contiguous to this, what we're talking about right now. I told her, in my opinion, as a commissioner, I didn't think the county needed to get into the recycling business. I asked her very pointedly what was the purpose of high country recycling, and she very pointedly told me that they are not a recycling business. They're a nonprofit group to promote recycling. They want nothing to do with recycling itself, which didn't surprise me, but it did remind me that that's not what their objective is. They want to promote recycling.
I think they're thinking of a regional thing, and I'm not, I'll admit that the regional thing for us up there is too far away for everybody.
Yeah.
Our closest neighbors that might be, what would be a regional thing would be Gardner. They have a roll-off there that they get their trash picked up once a year and everything. They could come in there and use our recycling, possibly Cotopaxi, that is as far north as Cotopaxi. But I don't know how.
They need Wetmore wants to take it up there,
Even Wetmore might be too far country, there is no recycling anywhere in Fremont County right now.
Well,
They're basically the only ones that are really doing it.
the other point, that I think was important out of that conversation with Joni Liebman is who we're talking about. She's the chair, or the, I guess she's the chair.
She's the chair for the
Recycling. Was the fact that this whole cardboard mailing recycling fee is important for our landfill. Glass and plastic, in my opinion, is not. It doesn't mean that it's not important to recycle, it's just, I don't think it's important for us in our landfill. You crush that glass, it takes up very little space. That cardboard and mattresses kill us at the landfill for volume because we can't.
Right.
To give you an idea how much land we save, now this is compressed cardboard, think of 7 semi-loads of cardboard, and you bury all 7 trailers in the landfill. 53-foot trailer, that's how much space we save a year. So, it's roughly 551 cubic yards.
Which I think is important for our landfill for space. Glass, plastic compresses, doesn't need taking care of that kind of volume, so.
Probably what, about a half a trench?
Well, it's not quite that much, but on a typical, I run the gate once in a while, and, on a typical Tuesday, we get 6 trash trucks in, each one of them might have 10 to 15 yards on them. So, that's a typical Tuesday.
Yeah,
That's just a trash truck.
Yep, and that is a good point. Joni talked to all three, but she thought you could do, didn't she?
Yeah.
She said she did, and made the point, and I think this is worthwhile pursuing, no question in my mind. What's your comment, Kevin?
I think it'd be something that we need to support. I agree that we need to, if we can pull that cardboard out, we do get some return off of that to offset the cost, so I think,
Well, the best year we ever had was $20,000. We were getting $200 a ton. Right now, it's $85 a ton. We were making more off it than people did off steel.
Yeah.
It's a commodity market, and, one of the problems I'm running into is they're getting picky. I did set my cardboard outside, and they don't like the looks of it.
Like it's wet.
Well, it gets wet, and it looks ugly looking. And that's one reason I want to.
You want it covered, do you?
Covered.
Want a pretty
You know,
nail.
they may decline.
Tracy, you got a question real quick?
I do. Does the county have the money to expend these, expenses, out front, with this grant? Because you said it's one of those where we have to expend the money first, we have to spend it, and then.
But you can collect it in parts as
Okay.
well. And from what I know, that's what most of them have been. As you spend it, you claim it.
Okay.
Ages it.
That wasn't very clear in the explanation.
Fiscal aid for this grant.
Right.
High cracker recycling is the one. Yeah, this grant.
Got a second?
They're proposing it, but they want the county to make the proposal to the,
Okay, it's been
That's what the
moved
administrative assistant-
to act as, the county act as the fiscal agent for this grant.
Right.
Like we do on others. Is there a second?
I would second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion to bring up? Ann?
I just want to make sure and clarify, there's a lot of citizens that support the county by bringing this cardboard recycling. But I don't think it's wise to get into the other recycling. If I would support, and I know a lot of others would, to do this building and machinery for the cardboard, keep it in the county, keep the money in the county.
Yeah, I don't think you're proposing to use it for anything else, less cardboard.
right, it's more of a cardboard, maybe, cans,
So,
bale cans.
so we're gonna keep the status quo. It doesn't mean, with this new machine, you could branch out into a new business if it were profitable, or if it were a reason, or we decided to do it.
We're just getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
We're getting more than we can
Okay.
handle.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. Kevin?
Aye.
Tom? Aye. And I. We'll help you get with, Tina as soon as you can. Okay. When's this due?
Joni,
Friday?
try to get the needs to be first day of March.
Okay.
The next Friday is what Joni wants to get with.
There's a good start, Tina, look, and here,
You can have that.
Give this back to
We got it on the computer.
That's through CPHE, Colorado Waste,
All right.
Diversion Grant. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Tracy, you're up. My mother's covered.
All right.
Go ahead. This is for consideration, it's a question primarily of my neighbor's covered proposal, and we discussed it earlier.
Right.
Thanks, Dennis. So, give us a quick summary, so that, and then we'll see what else we can do.
Okay, sure. At this time, my neighbor's covered, which is out of Penrose. Is anybody familiar with it?
Does anybody hear me? This is Marcy. By
I can
phone?
hear you, Marcy.
I'm familiar with it.
Okay, Marcy's online with you.
Oh, okay. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Tracy.
What we are proposing to do, right now, all of our, goods are over at the BSO office. And it came to our attention that, there were some miscommunications and so forth, with one of the other administrators of the program up here. There were complaints that, everything was in disarray, and, the BSO was the one who was responsible for handing out some of the food at times. And we just want to be able to stay in the building until we're able to secure another location. And we're moving on that as fast as we can, so that we can feed more of the citizens in the county as well. And we're not trying to take over what the, sharing center is doing. We're just trying to, add to that so we can feed as many citizens as possible.
Okay, and the reason you wanted to have the question because there was a misunderstanding on how you dovetail with everybody else.
Right, and we wanted to make sure that, we could stay in the building. So we have a place where we can distribute, weekly food and things of that nature.
For now, until you get your bill,
Correct.
there is a plan for you all to have a.
Yes, we do have a plan. Right now, we are starting, to look at grants to be able to, purchase a building in West Cliff. And then also, I'm looking at another possibility of a place to rent, in West Cliff.
Did you mention how many tons of food you distribute?
Put me on the spot. It was 220,000 pounds. This last, distribution, we served 688 people. Over 200 cars came through our line on February 6th. And we served, I'm trying to remember exactly. Want to say 274 senior citizens, during our last distribution. So we serve a lot of families. And, it's not meant to take the place of, shopping or anything of that nature. It's just to supplement what is already.
Or the BSO's food distribution that they've got, better.
Right. We're actually, we're serving both veterans and, senior citizens, families that are in need.
So your proposal is you continue doing what you're doing and keep it clean.
Exactly. I went personally to the BSO, that very next day after, I had the meeting with y'all on, February 3rd, I went. And, I agree, there was stuff everywhere. It was chaos, and with my OCD mind, it drove me nuts. Anyway, I got all that cleaned out. The only thing down there now is one pallet that I'm still working on, getting into a space, because we have so much food that needs to we want to do at the BSO building is on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesday evening from 4 to 6 p.m. after the BSO closes, and on Saturday mornings from 10 to 2 because the BSO will be closed on those days. We would like to be able to, with a few volunteers, go into the BSO office, sign people up that do have a need. They will get up to 20 pounds of food. That includes all the fresh produce and bread that your family could consume in a week. And it also includes a weighted and non-weighted meat items. You get 2 of them. And then your shelf-stable items as well, like your canned goods, things of that nature, your size. We want to be able to distribute those to citizens that are in need.
So you're asking us to receive permission to continue doing that at that point?
Yes, that is correct. Because we would not be in the way of the BSO at all. And I will personally make sure that our mess is cleaned up and everything left in the same state it was in when we got there. And I will personally oversee it.
All right, I'll move that we accept your proposal to that.
Can I say something?
Just one second.
Okay.
Let's second on that if
Okay.
discuss what we can do.
What did you say that schedule was again?
Wednesday evenings from 4 to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Before I would do that, also, I know you guys have partnered, I'm still unclear as to what the working arrangement was between you and the BSO. But as far as the Custer County community sharing, the care and share, have you guys worked with them as well, or are you, my question is this a redundancy, or are we working together with someone so that we're not reinventing the wheel?
Oh, no, that's a very good question. I've been doing the food distribution, the wide-scale ones, periodically that we've had in the past, since our first one in November of 2019. And, but I just jumped on last month as kind of the administrator of our local. So I have not had a chance to sit down with, anyone over at the Care and Share, which I would like to do, and I welcome it, because I want us to have a good relationship and so forth. There were a lot of big personalities that just butted heads, is a good way of putting it. And, I'd like to clear that up, because there are a lot of things that, people have said they don't want to go to the Care and Share for whatever reason, and they appreciate what we're doing. We have a lot of people coming through our line that are in tears at the amount of food that we are able to give them, because they are so...
Marcy?
Yes. Well, what I was trying to address, or going to address, was last week's information in the paper said that there's some talk of friction between longtime Care and Share operation and my neighbor's cupboard. And I kind of wanted to address that, and Tracy helped me out there a little bit by saying we get a lot of people that don't want to come to the sharing center. This is the word that is spread around town, and I just want to say there shouldn't be friction, because we're both doing the same thing. I think it was Commissioner Day that asked if there was redundancy. There absolutely is redundancy. There's redundancy within the sharing center. Like a couple weeks ago on Friday, we gave out our regular distribution, And I think we had about 85 families, and which would be, I don't know, 300 altogether family members. Saturday, the truck came up from wherever you come from, Tracy. Is that Florence or wherever you come from? It served, what Tracy was saying, about 200 cars. I guarantee everybody that came through our line on Friday was also at the line on Saturday, which I don't object to at all. And then again, Monday, the 8th, we had the same food at the sharing center with TFAP, the temporary emergency. So it was a busy 3 days for clients that need food going between the sharing center and the truck and back to the sharing center. I'm not going to speak whether I think that's good, bad, or in between, but we don't have any problem with the food being brought up, but I do think that there's redundancy, and like I said, there's redundancy with us. Now, when John Carroll was there, we did work with John, and we had a good relationship, and every time he would call me and tell me when the truck was coming up, we would tell our people the truck was coming up. So there was a relationship between us and John Carroll, and I hated to see him go for whatever reason. So, I'm just saying we're giving out a lot of food, and I know that, good luck, Tracy, trying to find a building that can handle it, and the neighbors will let you handle it. And I also do want to bring up, and this is just, at one time the annex was used for storage for the sharing center, and I can't remember whether that was under us starting 2015 or that was before when the Lutheran Church had it, and the courthouse basically kicked them out, us, whatever. So because I feel bad because that's very little storage room and a lot of work for them, so they're going to have 6 months of work cut out for them. And I also do want to mention that we have doubled our income because of COVID. And I know this won't last, but because of that, we've doubled our food. We've had to buy refrigerators, freezers. It's been crazy, but I'm certainly not saying I'm against anything. I'm just saying we do, Tracy, have to figure out how to stop the talk. And I think what the only area that the Karen share, not the Karen share, the sharing center has is, and sometimes we think that the my neighbor's cupboard builds himself up by tearing us down, and that's just not a good thing.
I will agree, and I appreciate what you've said. We just want to be able to help and supplement. I know that's my plan and what I intend to do. What is the amount that each family gets through the care and share?
Right now, I'll tell you right now, we can't weigh the boxes. There's so much food in them, and sometimes we have 2 boxes. So I'm guessing each week, Friday that we distributed, we're probably giving 50 pounds of food, plus we don't put the meat, we give them meat. We're trying to get more and more fresh vegetables, and I want it known that we are trying to purchase, and we are purchasing our meat from local. Elevations, Russ, Elon, Sangary's Best, and we're getting many groceries from the Lowe's food store, because what we're finding is the food that's coming up from Care and Share, it is free now, which is nice. We don't have to pay for it, but it's only the staples. So we're out there trying to buy additional food from our local companies here, and trying to add a lot of good stuff that isn't repetitive, because it really can get repetitive giving getting spaghetti and noodles and whatever every
Okay,
week.
thanks,
And
Marcy, I'm gonna have to cut you off here, but I
Sure.
appreciate your input was very valuable, and Tracy too. Kevin, did that answer some of your questions, or do you have some more too?
That pretty much answered my question, a comment from here, and then I guess we can address your motion.
We need a second at first.
Yeah,
I'd like to keep Marcy on the phone, because I have a question
Yeah.
for her.
Stay on, Marcy.
okay,
what I am seeing is, and what I would like to see, if this goes through, is that you do continue to pursue, a building that would be better suited. I would also like to see my neighbor's cupboard pursue a good working relationship with those that are already in place, that have been in place, the Caring Center and Care and Share.
And the new VSO.
And the new VSO, so, because it's a great service. I mean, what you guys are doing is good, what Marcy and Care and Share are doing is great, but good things can be bad.
Right.
And I would like to see a good working relationship with all those involved. That's my comment.
I am 100% committed to that. And Marcy, I'll be getting in contact with you.
okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Tom?
Yeah, Marcy, thank you for your letter, that cleared up a lot. One of the things that cleared up was the name. I am as guilty as anybody in this county of referring to as Care and Share, and that is not correct. You're the Community Sharing Center, I now understand that. Care and Share is a company out of Colorado Springs, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And they've recently, Care and Share has recently opened up 2 new food pantries. And I tell you the truth, I was pretty jealous when I saw those pictures on the paper where they have this big, huge room with refrigeration all down one wall and all this food. And I was just like, man, I wish we could bring that up here.
North side of the Springs, and one just opened on the south side. They just had that ribbon cutting day before yesterday, so, but.
Yes, yeah.
I just want to make that point. Secondly, if you don't mind me asking, I was under the understanding that Carol Alt was on your board. Is that not correct?
No, Carol Alt, well, she is the CEO manager of the pantry. And so, I mean, she comes to all the board meetings, but she's not a member of the board. And so I decided not to drag her name on the letter because I was just telling you who was on the board. But no, Carol is a wonderful manager and has done just a really, really nice job for our sharing center. So she is definitely part of the board. She's just not on the board.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marcy, thank you.
Huh?
Is there a second to the motion?
Would you restate?
The motion is that we grant permission to, what's your name?
My neighbor's
My
covered.
neighbor's covered, continue to use the DSO until you, are able to move out and work efficiently, work a relationship where you, which I have no doubt after hearing you do, between that, the, community sharing center. Second.
I would second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion, any comments from everybody that's been listening? Other than that.
Yeah, I'll most likely support your motion, Mr. Kanda. I think we need to have a discussion about the fact that we don't have a BSO officer, and now we're getting ready to commit that building to somebody else without any input from the BSO officer. So, I'm also concerned about how long this arrangement's going to be, so I would move to amend your motion by adding the words, until the end of August 2021, and then we revisit the issue again.
I was, while we were talking 6 months, but that.
Nobody said anything about anything, so
That's what she said initially,
that's my amendment.
Right.
but that's not a bad idea.
I would that's reasonable, and, we can definitely revisit it at that time.
See where
It'll
you're at, I think that's a
Different
great
than
idea.
kicking the tail that, to make sure we get that new building.
All right, so, you want me to restate it with that in mind? We can do
August 31.
August 31, so let's post, blanket, okay, if we get out, let's say, reconsider it in August 31. We'll amend it that way.
I would amend my fifth.
Second, and is that what we're gonna do first? Discussion. All in favor? Kevin?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Tom, aye. So now, the motion on the table is to permit
My neighbors.
my neighbors covered to use the VSO building until August of 2020, August 31st of 2021, and we'll revisit the, position. All in favor? Aye. Kanda, aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Aye, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Bill. I just wanted to say a message popped up on my phone just now that Rush Limbaugh passed away this morning.
Oh, heck, I'm sorry.
Who?
Rush Limbaugh passed away this morning.
Well, we'll miss him. Yeah, he's, been really ashamed. Thanks. All right, how about a break? Can we take 5 minutes? We'll recess for 5 minutes. Okay, we're back, to order here at BOCC meeting. It's, roughly 10:45. We're gonna try to wrap this up, if it looks like we're gonna go past 12, here in a few minutes, we'll move Clint up the agenda. So, next order of business is, the selection of a public information officer. For everybody's information, we did hold a, interview with, the candidates for this position. The position was first, discussed back in November. Job descriptions were rewritten and, looked at, and then we sent out the, notice, and then over the last, week or so, 2 weeks ago now, it's almost every week. So, we didn't have it published in time, since we had intended to do the, selection right after that meeting, but we couldn't because of timing on the 24-hour notice. So here we are, back to discuss, that selection. We had 3 candidates, and for the, privacy, and how we do the process, we're just gonna talk numbers instead of names, and, go along with it. Is there a buzz going on?
You'll be fine.
Was that the elevator? Okay. Thank you. So anyway, we had 3 candidates, candidate, 1, 2, and 3. And what we would normally do, I guess, we could make a motion, select one, and have a discussion, or we can discuss, some now. So I'm gonna leave it up to you gentlemen, what would you like to do? Have a discussion first,
Would.
okay, and, Kevin, then,
That would work fine.
okay. All right, so let's press on, go ahead.
Well, as I indicated in my email dated March, or February 4th, to everybody that was involved in the initial interviews, myself, Kevin, Clint, Donna, Shannon, Vernon, and Tina Jones, and myself, I requested that we back up the brakes on this, and look at the process again. As I indicated in the email, I have no problem with the applicants. It's not an applicant issue for me, it's a process issue. I think that whole, interview process was inaccurate. I think there's a chance that it could come back and bite us if we don't do it correctly. It's my opinion that we did not do that interview correctly. We have issues with the job description itself. I think that needs to be rewritten. I think, we as a commission need to decide what entity is going to have, management over this position, this job of public information officer. After talking to a couple other counties, I'm not even sure public information officer is the correct title. I don't know, I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I think historically we have marched on when we should have been slowed down. I remember getting chastised at a forum before the election about this commission needs to slow down. I think this is one of those times when I think we need to slow down here. Thank you for responding to my email. I appreciate that. You're the only response. I had asked for, people on that committee to respond to you with their thoughts. I don't know if they did that. I wasn't privy to that, but, thank you for giving me your thoughts and opinions, on that. I appreciate that. So, I'm not gonna get stupid and jump out here and postpone this item, but I'm very close to trying to see if I can get support on that motion. But I would rather have a discussion about it first. So,
Thanks. Kevin?
I agree, we had some issues with our interview process. Whether it was whether it was process or just with the interviews themselves. That being said, I don't believe going back and redoing them will change my thoughts on the matter, on how I scored the individuals. And some events that have transpired since that time kind of makes me lean more towards going ahead and moving forward because of the fact that we've had a couple incidents where it would have been very nice to have had a succinct message put out rather than, inaccurate information or slow information, in a couple of different instances.
No, I agree with you. And I did speak to Shannon Dyer, the sheriff, about this most recent incident, because I thought there was a great opportunity for us to have a public information officer or whatever title it was. He promptly informed me by 8:15, he had posted a Facebook post on the sheriff's Facebook page about that incident.
The only thing I saw, I didn't see anything until about a little after it came to, but I was not on the sheriff's Facebook page.
Not nor was I, but
I'm not on Facebook on
he
any of
made
it.
me understand.
I avoid it like the plague,
So,
but I did have a conversation, I knew that incident through.
so that is my comment on that, but I agree that we did have some issues. Whether that would come back to bite us or not, I don't know. But, I don't believe starting back over from square one would change the outcome.
All right,
Could I respond just real
go
quick?
ahead.
I agree with that. I'm not sure, and I think I indicated I have not an issue with the candidate side of this thing. I don't believe it would change, even if we interviewed again, unless something totally different came out of the interview. But that's not my point. I'm not sure it would change my selection either. I agree with you there. One of the people on that committee very clearly told me, don't ever invite me to another commissioner interview process. Now, that speaks volumes to me. We missed the mark. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe not, I don't know, I agree with both of you, to some extent. We have a process, whether, and it's a valid process, we did look at the job description, and we had a chance to rewrite it, and we did. That doesn't mean that we can't do a better job and that's why I put on the agenda a discussion for our workshop, to exactly what you're talking about, and how we do it, who they report to. We did talk about who that person reports to, but in that meeting, I think we were pretty adamant.
And when did we talk about that?
In a BOCC meeting, it came up that we, it felt that reported to the commissioners, because that's who they work for anyway, that we did say. But regardless, it isn't gonna change my vote either, and I think we need a voice now, more than ever, and I think it involves more than just the COVID issue. It involves PR for not PR, but communications on what this justice center is. It involves things, tidbits on what the county is, transparency. It would be nice to know what J.B. Henrich is doing in the supply chain down things. I see a lot, and we discussed that in that meeting too, at some point, that there's lots of opportunities for this person to really benefit the county. So I would like to continue also, and I would like to continue, and we'll work that workshop thing later to decide what our process does, need to be changed or not, and how, things would be, from a reporting point of view, and line of, who reports to who. And I like the fact that, Tina's even brought up, things that we hadn't seen before, and that, reviews are due, annual reviews in my annual. So I think it's good, and I think we're going along and improving as we go. So I would like to continue as we are, and I would make a motion to select that, candidate, and I would make a motion to select candidate number 2 as, our, PIO officer. Do I have a second on that?
is that one motion or two motions?
No, it's one motion. I did say I want to continue, but, there was not an issue of whether we should, that wasn't on the floor, whether we have a vote or not. To continue. Do we want to are you suggesting we should vote to continue?
I was just asking, I need clarification on your.
I'm moving
I would support that motion.
Will you second?
Yes.
Discussion?
That's who I had selected.
That's good news. So let's move forward. All in favor, say aye. Tom? Aye. Kanda, aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Candidate number 2.
You wanna know who it is?
You need to wait
We
for
don't do
Donna
that
to
now.
reach
I
out.
know, I know.
So we're gonna make a phone call.
I know.
You gotta know what that candidate will select, will accept. If they don't, we have to go back to the drawing board.
I know.
Nice try, though.
Darn media, they're always nosy. Dallas?
I have a question. What, burden is this gonna put on the budget?
We discussed that, when we set it up, but right now, we have the budget to support it. We had already had a person volunteering to do that, and we had a, part-time, budget set aside and other monies as well.
But that's not
Which
enough.
is the number,
30,000?
no, let's see, what's
It's a 20-hour-a-week position.
20-hour-a-week position, with an option to, grow it later if we see the need.
Is it $17 an hour?
I think it's $17. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, can you notify Donna how to be? You gotta,
Probably have an answer before we're done today.
I will have to leave your meeting now.
You can.
Water's on.
Oh, it is? Good. Was the water turned off? 'Cause when I turned that,
No, I don't know what's the matter with it, but we checked everything, everything's working on something.
Operator,
Is it working up there now too, or not? Oh, everything is working, so I don't worry about it, thank you, sir, appreciate it. I wondered when you were leaving.
the knob was good.
Thank you, why?
Hey, thank you. All right, let's move on. Weed board members. Who, you
I
gonna,
would defer to Ms. Tina.
Just request, I give you
Matt?
Okay, so as far as the weed board committee, they had selected, the following people to be part of the weed board committee, and they recommend, these people to BOCC committee for their approval. Tina Jones for secretary and member at large, Kim Crutchy, member at large, Roger Charles Warren, member at large, and Cole Mushrush, member, land manager.
Move to approve those members to the land board,
I'll second it.
or to the weed board, sorry, those are one.
Land board's a different board.
Those are one-year terms.
You wanna amend that? 1-year terms, is there a second? Wait a minute, I second. I don't normally do that, so. All right, then move to second to accept these, members as presented. Any discussion?
I think standard protocol is that if we approve these, then we would ask Ms. Tina to send them a letter notifying them that their appointment has been approved.
See no objection to that? Any other discussion? All right. Call for the vote. Tom? Aye. Kanda, aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Okay.
May I put a plug in, sir?
Yeah, I was gonna say, thank you, part final members.
So, the weed board met yesterday, they meet monthly, and in the commissioners', boardroom and by Zoom. And Sharon Berry, who is a member of the Custer County Conservation District Board of Directors, informed the group that the Conservation District committed, $6,350 in support of the weed $10,000 for their budget. The commissioners approved $10,000, so the conservation district stepped up and tried to backfill some of that, so I really appreciate that. I think those numbers are right that I gave Clint and Tina. If I'm wrong, let me know, but, I believe the 250 was for, pardon? Yeah, for the week tour and 100 for education, that's where the 350, yeah. So I really appreciate that.
That's the operation now, 16,000.
Well, yeah, they won't be able to do everything they wanted to. I say we, 'cause I was set on that board, but I involved in it. So they'll be able to function with that. This is a huge help. I mean, 60% addition to their budget is very nice for the.
Attorney help from, Warfield County.
They had a meeting yesterday, a workshop. We expect to hear that today, but I'm assuming that, ITA will be forthcoming for us to look at with Charles, Bryant, SE, and,
Okay, thanks. Next, the workshop. We just discussed that, discussion on personnel policy and procedures. I would propose that we do follow through with the workshop. Discussion on
well, I'm glad to see this on here. I have worked with a couple people, in the courthouse itself on what, I believe is lacking in policies and procedures, not necessarily just personnel, but if that's all it's directed to personnel, that's fine. I was thinking, we probably need to have a conversation, guys, have a conversation about, policies and procedures across the board. I think it's a great idea.
Hey, guys, thanks.
And I think we need to address. I don't have a specific date in mind, I don't know if you did or not.
No, I wanted to do it after the first of the month, though. Kevin, if you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I have no problem with going through and, we need to change a few things, I'm sure. So, whatever date works.
I'd like to give us a little breathing room, because if we're gonna do this, I think we need to be well educated, well prepared,
That's right.
well researched, so
Let's do it after the middle of next month.
That would, so that will actually be taking effect probably after we address the 2 vacancies that we already have now. So, because those 2 vacancies, I think, need to be filled
now,
post haste.
Yeah, what about March 26th, the Friday?
That's perfect for me. Kevin, you good with it?
It didn't have anything on it yet.
Every bird gets the worm.
That's it. This one has a star by it.
I would move that we schedule I'm gonna drop the word personnel, and we just try a policies and procedures workshop on March 26th, starting at 9 a.m.
Location?
At what time?
9 at the Commissioners' Boardroom.
Fine. Okay,
I'd say to discuss and develop policies and procedures for the county.
I'll second that, this time again. Any discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor, it's at 9 o'clock on the 26th, county policies and procedures, all in favor, Kevin?
Aye?
Tom?
Aye.
And I.
And we have to clearly post that as a workshop, not a
That's
meeting.
correct.
I think we have some resolutions on policies and procedures. I'm not sure, but I'd like for Kelly to take a look, and it seems like there were some that were adopted.
I know that, and I know that before I came on, you all did a complete policy overhaul.
Yeah, well, and we have the personnel policy, but I thought there were some other resolutions regarding, I don't remember what they are now.
Yeah, we voted on the new personnel policy after we took
Right.
office.
Yeah.
I'm just, I mean, just during my period of time, so.
Okay, I'll look and see.
I think it was
Well,
what.
here's what we got, and that's what we'll discuss.
Yeah,
What
could be.
has to be relevant.
So do we wanna bring suggestions or just topics of what we think we need to address and then work from there?
I think we need to have, so we can have an open discussion, bring what we can, all of them. Okay, next. I think we got time to squeeze everything in. You're not in a rush now, are you, Captain McClellan? You still good?
I didn't look at the time, but.
11:05.
Yeah, it's fine.
That, is it 10 after?
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's press on. The, consideration, you wanna handle these together?
I do know, I'd like to speak to that, but whatever.
All right, then let's just take it. Consider the replacement of the HR finance director, as I mentioned before, Donna Hobby has resigned, that submitted her letter of resignation effective 31 March. And, I just talked to her, she's willing to stay on, afterwards as a boss. It depends on when we hire somebody to help, on a part-time basis later on, if we need to. But it's important to fill this as soon as we can, and this is not a bad time of the year budget-wise, because we're right in the wrong, just status, going, the flow right now. So, I would, what we need to do is get a job description on the street. I did ask her for a job description, she said that we, yeah.
Well, I don't know what you said, I asked her.
No, I asked her to send it to,
She said you got a copy, and I asked her, she sent me one, I don't know what she said.
I asked her to send a copy. Did you get
I did get one,
So, Mayor, let me
go ahead.
comment here, sir, before we get too far into the weeds, thank you. I would recommend the commissioners post two jobs here, one as the finance director and the other as the payroll and human resource director. And do away with the assistant director. Clearly, according to Ms. Donna, I've witnessed this since I've been commissioner, HR and finance, way more than one person should ever try to tackle. She will admit that. She admitted to me yesterday, again, not admitted, but confirmed that, clearly asking way too much for one person to do that. So I'd like to see us split these two jobs, and have one person in charge of human resources and the payroll, and then the finance director deal with the finance.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because you had, and I was going, I'd asked Donna before, how in the world did you get smushed together? And that was some time ago.
Tell you how?
And that was really great. When she started out, she told me as a clerk working for, Mary Katnick. Drove her way up. I mean, she got a diverse background and, stepped up to the bar when they needed, finance and the, HR job. So that was amazing when she did it. No wonder she's going nuts now, getting ready to retire. So I agree. We do need two positions, and separating it into an HR, world, I think is the right thing to do. We did have this second position that we approved before for her deputy, but that's not necessary to separate the two.
That's my opinion, yeah. I would think maybe we could ask Tina to look at these two job descriptions, work with Dawn, and then kind of rewrite
working out of that same
Not necessarily.
space?
It's a great question.
It's very
I
limited.
tried to tackle yesterday.
I think
At some point, I can share some thoughts about what I came up with. That was probably a little too deep in the weeds for today.
yeah, we can get into, I don't think they should. Definitely, we do need to find another space, but that's something we could work, separate too. We've got to get the job descriptions fixed.
And then there's, and this might be in the weeds too, but Kathy has stated that she would volunteer time to continue to help, until everybody got up to speed.
Right.
She's voiced that to everyone.
That's good. So we can continue. The problem is, this is the middle of February, the 31st is 6 weeks away. So if we get the job description written, can we, do a email approval on that? I would think we could get concurrence so that we can, and then, get them on the street. I don't think we need a separate meeting to do that, where we can agree to the process now. I think.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about that whole concept, never have been, but I support it because of the timing. I believe what the vacancy announcement needs to be published next week. What do you think, Clint?
I think what you should do is make a motion to divide these
That's what I
positions,
was gonna do.
and then you can agree on the details. You don't need to have another vote on that. You can just agree on what the language should be of the, the job descriptions for both.
I don't know of anybody better qualified in the county right now to write those job descriptions than Donna, working maybe with Tina or yeah.
Right. And that doesn't require a vote by
No,
you.
I shouldn't. Fine, so make a motion.
Yeah, I would move that we post a vacancy announcement for a finance director and a vacancy announcement for a human resource / payroll director. And do that as soon, no later than next week, which obviously those have to go out on Monday, and instruct, Donna and Tina to work together to develop that, and then shoot that to us via email.
Motion would include that. Got a second?
I would second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to post two positions, HR and finance. And then Donna
Finance director
and
and then HR payroll.
The rest is, right, and then, we will, ask Jack, Donna, for the job description, coordinating with us, get the agreement, and post it as soon as you do.
That's a good question. So, when you say payroll, are you talking all bills or just?
County payroll,
County payroll.
personnel payroll, and then the finance director does all.
Would do all the rest of the bill vouchers?
That's accounts receivable and
Right,
payable.
been moved and seconded to do that. We got a question, we got a discussion.
I do, but I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just for clarification, how we should separate positions and then move the announcement? We do it in the same motion, but you're saying to announce two positions, that you have to separate them.
No, I think the motion is separating them,
That's how it should
and
be done.
and to,
And then you
Yeah, to your point, my comment was going to be that there's an assumption then that we are vacating the positions as they stand now. If we need to formally vote to do that, council, I have no problem withdrawing my motion and backing up.
I think it's pretty clear
That was my inference.
by doing, if you approve this motion, that automatically takes care of it.
right.
So if you vote yes, we're doing away with the positions as they stand today.
Right.
That assistant director position goes away.
Tracy?
I just had a quick question. Is there a final date of employment for those two positions right now as it stands, or are they staying on until a new person?
Their final date was the 31st.
So,
One.
And one of them is, the other one was effective in 2 weeks, and she agreed to stay on a voluntary basis.
right now, the HR finance, the joint position will be through March 31st.
Right, March 31st is when she.
The assistant position is, now a week and a half out, and then she will volunteer to her time to help.
Continue as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, another point, I mean, I have it in my mind, other people may not, that we may very well pay a double salary for either one or both of those positions through the transition and training period. If we hire somebody before Donna's date, which would be ideal, we would end up paying for both of those people.
That's right. Ideally, though, that second position is not a full-time position now.
Which one?
The one that's being based.
The assistant director.
Assistant director is not a full-time position now.
Yeah, I thought it was.
It's full-time.
Yeah.
When it was, like, yeah, I'm confusing that with the, PIO.
So, just so everybody understands, we could be making double payroll for a month or so, but
I
there
think
wouldn't
that,
be better money spent, in my opinion, because clearly, I said it yesterday to somebody, I think this is probably the most important county position to keep us paying the bills and keeping our employees
Oh,
paid.
and Kathy, once elected, wants to bail out sooner anyway.
2 weeks, she gave her 2 weeks notice, day before yesterday.
and I would not throw anybody in that slot without being able to work alongside Donna. You're asking for,
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
we
it's
just
all-
made
Well, there's notes pasted all over the office, and notes don't work if you don't know where to go to get what you're looking for.
My point was, we may end up paying 2 people for that same job during that training period.
and I think that's necessary.
I agree. Money well spent.
Any other questions?
I hope it is.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Kevin?
Aye.
And I'll draft an email to you gentlemen, share some of my thoughts about some housing for these two positions.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Because I just don't think you can ask anybody to work out of that jail.
Nobody wants to see it. Locked up.
You know, I did try to close her in that once, but they've got electrical conduit, you can't close that door.
All right, good, thanks. Okay, Clint, you ready? Who's gonna present? Yep, come on up.
Yeah, I'd like Ann actually to talk about it, but she brought me a proposed agreement with Britt's company, which I gave each of you a copy of now as well. And I have looked this over. This is strictly for them to do the survey work for the criminal justice, or that's how, they refer to it as a criminal justice center in here, and that, I made a note of that, it's justice center, not criminal, it's for all legal proceedings.
Basically criminal.
Yeah, so we need to take that out, but I've looked over this proposal, which seems basically okay to me, although they, in their, on the second page where it says protection of BC/Frederick Falls, the grammar is wrong. They want Custer County to identify and hold them harmless, but the way it's written, it doesn't say that.
Where is that with paragraph?
It's the one that says protection of BC/Frederick
Oh,
Falls.
I see.
'Cause it says we cannot undertake to verify facts supplied by Custer County, therefore, as to the extent allowed by law, agrees to indemnify and hold harmless BC/Frederick Falls. Should have Custer County there agrees to indemnify and hold harmless. I mean, that's a wording thing, it's not a big deal.
Custer County therefore agrees to.
Yeah, but it doesn't say,
We can try to hold somebody else accountable.
yeah, it needs to, says Custer County therefore agrees to indemnify and hold harmless, to the extent allowed by law, probably just switch it around a little bit or something, but I mean, I'm fine with this. I mean, this does clearly show, and this is the $30,000 that's already been approved. So that's the budget for this, and the money is there. But the other part for the Justice Center was the agreement with, Piper Sandler. And I talked to Ann about this yesterday, and, Ann and I thought we had an agreement, but one of the members of the committee on this is still feels very strongly. I don't think this is a big issue. I think, Piper Sandler will agree to whatever we ask them to do. It's the underwriting part of that agreement. The RFP didn't call for an underwriting proposal, but they put it in that agreement. I think what we just need to do is talk to, is it Nate Eckloff, is he the one we've been dealing with? And just tell him we need that taken out, the part about underwriting, that we haven't even, put out an RFP for underwriting yet. It's putting the cart before the horse at this point. So my recommendation would be to redo the agreement with Piper Sandler for what we've asked for in the initial RFP, and we can deal with the underwriting a little bit later. Chances are it's gonna end up being them anyway, but.
Well, we have to have an underwriter.
Yeah, but we need to figure out what the financing, how we're gonna go about. Is it gonna be bonds? Is it gonna be tax? Is it gonna be, a combination of various things? Is it gonna be this, certificate of participations idea? I mean, until we figure out, the committee and the county commissioners figure out how you wanna try to finance this.
He did say that, he's agreeable to whatever we come up with, because it never was signed. We never had it signed. They do not have a signed copy of anything from the county.
Well, I guess just to make this, you should probably formally withdraw the previous agreements that were signed. We had one that was signed July 30 and another one that was signed.
And that was only for the underwriting. The proposal part was never, that they had never been signed. They had a copy of it, but with their signatures, but not with the county.
Okay, but it was signed twice.
No,
there was another one on August 8th.
Different.
No, let
Different
me
issue.
clarify. There were two underwriting agreements signed by one commissioner, so it wasn't the whole board, and it was July 31st
30.
and,
Or 31.
and September 22nd.
They were identical.
They were identical. So he's talking both as one document, but there's two that need to be voided.
But the other one is, you mean the two that were signed separately?
Yes.
Okay, even though they're the same copy.
No,
I thought they were word for word, I know the dates are different.
they're the exact same document with two different dates.
I got it.
The second one would not supersede the first one?
Okay, whatever it takes.
It's a little confusing, and just to tidy everything up, it would be good for you to formally
And then
withdraw those documents, and let's get it right with Piper
that
Sandler.
issue, what about, do we have to sign, I know we awarded them the contract, their proposal, but we never signed it formally to them. So don't we need to do that?
Well, we awarded them the proposal, but not for underwriting.
No, but my point is, we didn't award it officially, we never sent it, we never signed it.
No, but if, I don't want them to resubmit something that has the same underwriting language in it.
It doesn't, it's a separate.
Well, I haven't seen if there's been something
That's
more
my
recent.
understanding, is that right, Ann? The proposal didn't have the underwriting,
Their response to
or their, they sent that as a separate agreement.
We didn't need to sign their response to the RFP.
We have to put it on
Their
contract.
response.
Right, but they provided on August 4th an engagement letter, which did include underwriting.
Right.
And
We voted, I did not
Yeah, we
sign that
voted.
document by myself. The commissioners instructed me to sign that on behalf of the county commissioner.
That was the
No.
engagement letter, but what about they have something they signed, and we tried to find the
It was-
response that.
it was the August 4th engagement letter, was never signed, it was approved, but never signed.
That's what I'm looking for. So that has nothing to do with the two that were signed.
Exactly.
Can I ask if there's somebody from Piper Sandler on this call now?
Sure. I don't know if they are.
Apparently not, I just I heard somebody turn on their phone, and I thought maybe they had something to say.
So my recollection was this, that we put out that RFP, we accepted the Piper Sandler's,
We voted on it.
RFP, and then we voted to sign that agreement on August 4th. But in between that, I believe Mr. Canada brought to us that there was a problem with the language in the original response to the RFP. And so I believe, this is my recollection, you stop me anytime I go off the rails, that you contacted Nate and said, we got a problem with the language, could you rewrite it and resubmit it?
That's right.
That's where the second document came from.
Right, but it was erroneously, there's nothing to compare, actually, it's you to sign the old, it wasn't the new. That's the issue, that's why the two are identical. You signed the thing, or twice.
There should be a third
That's
document
right.
in, correct?
That's correct.
I don't remember what the language was. What's the date on the third document, Ms. Ann?
August 4th.
Is that the engagement letter or the response to the RFP?
It's the engagement letter.
And that's what I've got right here on my computer.
So,
And I can't find that you sent it to me, but I didn't print it out. Can I look at it real quick?
Absolutely.
anyway,
They have that.
in order to, they're operating, we told them we accepted it verbally, their proposal, but we never sent a signed copy of it to anybody. They signed their piece, right? You got theirs, don't you have a copy with their signatures on?
Yes.
So, but nothing from the county making it legal.
Exactly.
I see this one from August 4 still has language about underwriter's fees.
That's right, that's why we have to get them to change that.
One of the members of the committee that worked on this feels very strongly there shouldn't be any reference to underwriting
Right.
in this agreement, this engagement letter.
So that to me is easy, because we never signed that officially. We
He
said
didn't
they.
say why. He didn't think we should use these guys as underwriters.
No, not that. He just said it was,
Legally, it's not legal.
his email from yesterday was that there's been no RFP which allows for the signing of a financing commitment letter.
That wasn't.
Well, it's in the original RFP, right?
No.
I didn't see it in the RFP.
The original RFP in the scope of work.
Never had it.
Yeah. I mean, to read, I'm sorry, Ann, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Well, he went on in his email that I got last night to say, bundling a financing underwriting commitment together with an agreement for surveying public opinion, which was covered by the RFP, does not avoid the necessity of an RFP specifically for a financing/underwriting commitment. So he feels strongly.
Legally, we needed to have an RFP that said, be our financer too.
That's, instead of putting it all together into one
Right.
package, I don't think that we asked for that initially. It
No,
just,
we didn't.
that's the way it came from Piper Sandler when they responded to the first RFP.
In my experience, we haven't got a legal contract with them, because we never signed it. We said we accepted it verbally, but in our RFP never asked them for the financing thing, and they added that because, and they explained it to me, it was because in the past, that was legal to do, but that's been separated. The financing and this other stuff we asked for are two different issues. And so they can't legally do that. That's why they asked us to sign this BRIC contract, because they can't hire them to do anything.
Right.
It's illegal. So we're gonna take care of that with this one. And then, to me, it's simple. We just send that new contract without that wording in it for them to sign up to.
May I make a point?
Go ahead.
One point is they do the funding options, research and presentation, and they are only paid if the ballot issue wins.
Correct.
So you're not gonna get them to do that work without
That's
some
right.
type of underwriting agreement.
So maybe that's what we add into it, is my point.
Mhm.
And that's a new contract, then, it's not,
Right.
It's sort of ratifying something that we should have had in the first place.
Well, this one dated August 4 recognizes, it says, if the project is financed with securities, the parties agree that Piper Sandler is not making a final commitment to underwrite the securities, but it's basically saying that if that's how it goes, the ballot issue, and if we do agree with them to do the underwriting, then it sets forth what the fee would be. So it's all contingent, first of all, on the ballot issue, and second, about further contractual agreements with them.
Right.
The way this letter is. I understand what the other member is saying, that we shouldn't, have anything about underwriting in this, but it's, the way I'm reading this now, it's, both sides are recognizing we're not committing to anything. The county is not.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
That's their whole, to your point, and that's why they wanna
Right.
work for free until this ballot issue gets paid, because they're gonna make their money on the back end when they do all the underwriting.
And it's a pretty good deal, actually.
Yeah.
We knew that, we understood that. So, what member has this opposition to Piper Sandler being the underwriter? Was that Steve?
Yeah, and he's not opposed so much to doing it, it's just that it wasn't done the way he thinks it should have been done, that there ought to be a separate RFP.
That's true, there should.
You could say, okay, we can humor him and ask for a separate do a separate RFP, and we'd get the same
We get the same
proposal.
thing back.
Good, but I don't think we're against the law here.
No, I think the way this is written, we're not committing to anything absolutely.
He'd like to see us do it a different way. The way we did it isn't wrong necessarily, he just doesn't agree with it.
Well, we haven't signed anything officially with Piper Sandler, other than.
Well, if we haven't sent those other things that were
We
signed,
did, we sent,
And Nate confirmed that with you?
yeah,
too?
he doesn't have our signature on it.
Nate confirmed that.
On the August 4th letter? Is that
On
what you're
anything.
On anything?
No, I didn't,
which one was signed on September 21st? Was it the August 4th one that was signed?
No, it was.
Was the July 30th letter?
Yes, it was the July 30th letter. that was
Okay, so the
signed.
same one was signed twice. We've apparently never signed the August 4th
No, we never
engagement letter.
But you did approve it in a BOCC.
We said we did, but normally you follow up with a written contract, that's all.
Right.
It's not, has anything to do with Steve at all. It has
So,
to do-
on August 12th, the BOCC accepted the letter of engagement unanimously. Then the underwriter letter was signed on 9/22. They were two different documents. That's why we're recommending void the two underwriter engagement letters. And then you're gonna have to amend the
the
RFP
RFP.
for date. If you sign that August 4th letter, you're gonna have that redone for date for this meeting or whenever you.
Sure, we can do that.
And confirm that you are approving it or not approving it. You have to go back to that approval that you did on August 12th.
And you ran that by me. Right. And that's okay with them.
They're willing to work with us, it's just whatever Clinton.
Well, and the way I read this in paragraph 4 on the August 4th letter, if you go to the top of this page 2, this agreement is therefore not a final commitment by us, express or implied, to underwrite or purchase any securities. If you elect to conduct a public offering of the securities, you and Piper Sandler will enter into a definitive bond purchase agreement, which shall supersede the provisions of this agreement. So they're recognizing we don't have any, obligation with one another at this point.
Right.
We can do an RFP, later on, but obviously they're expecting that
They're gonna get it.
yeah, but I think we could ask for another RFP, see if somebody else comes in, with a better number, if anybody else submits a response to an RFP, but this, as it stands now, protects the county as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think you need to, you can I would suggest a motion, that whatever action was taken regarding the previous letter, that you go ahead and void those two actions. And I would,
then sign what we did
never sent off apparently, but there was some formal board action that was
The
taken.
formal board, we agreed, but we never signed that, agreement.
Right.
All they had is their signature.
Well, it was signed, I mean, they've got Tom's signature on it, but it was never sent.
They didn't ever sign that one.
No, not this one,
That's
this
what I'm
August
saying, that
4th.
has to be signed in order to, agree with what you just said.
I mean, the way this is worded, it sets forth the relationship. There is no agreement at this time between the county and, Piper Sandler that,
But we need to sign that.
yeah, I don't have a problem with this one being signed. I think this
That's my point.
clarifies everything. If you do this, that should take care of
We
it.
avoid those two, and we need to sign that.
Yeah, and I can understand, Steve Bauer, lawyers take different positions. He's, ultra concerned and pays attention to a lot of detail. If I'd gone to law school, I probably would feel the same way, but as you know, I've been faking this pretty much for 50 years now. So, but my feeling is we're okay.
Things that, you got a toe ran.
It is 50 years this year, 50 years as a licensed lawyer in October, so I expect a huge party then.
Do you think this conversation should be held with Nate as well?
Yeah, I would like to have him on board on this, be sure he understands where we're all coming from.
I asked a question at the committee meeting, got shot down to have Nate involved in this conversation,
No,
so.
he was, Tom, that was the point.
I
He recommended-
specifically asked.
He recommended that we first get our act together and talk to Nate, and then come back, and then we get involved, and we'll get Nate on.
Well, which meeting there was apparently a meeting
The
yesterday.
committee meeting we had.
Last week.
Okay, that one, yeah.
And so, we did exactly the right thing, it's just that we got to announce that Nate knows that we need to sign that, and we're gonna get him involved in it.
Well, it would be nice if, Ann, are you the one that normally talks to Nate? Who should talk to Nate about it?
And
We're the ones that signed the document.
we'll
Well, somebody, then should just, and I'm happy, if you want me to talk to him, I'm happy to talk to him.
can do it, it doesn't matter.
But whoever, I've never met him or talked to him, so.
Yeah, it's important to get him, he's already signed the agreement, we need to sign it. And that's all he's expecting us to do, we're not gonna change that. And
Well,
we're gonna
just
avoid-
as a courtesy then, to let him know what
That's right.
we've discussed here and what our if he disagrees with that, then that's something else again.
That's the
But,
conversation I had with him, and then Ann just went back and reworked all the timing so that he understood it in detail.
well, if anybody feels they should talk to him further on this.
I'll talk to him if you want to.
I think we should, as a commission, talk to him to find out where he thinks he is, and we can explain where we think we are. I don't know.
I guess he needs to understand that that there probably will be another RFP coming out, if that's how you do elect to go.
Well, he's got it covered in that agreement there, right?
Well,
That's what they all
I just-
agreed to.
yeah, but I wanna be sure he understands that the county is still reserving the right to.
So what we can do, they're gonna continue working, and we can have it in our next meeting, like we get him on the phone, if we want to.
I'm gonna tell you, if you're gonna do a new RFP.
I'm gonna do a new RFP.
Well,
An RFP at the underwriting portion, which you aren't gonna know until the result of the ballot.
That's right, but that's what they agreed to on that contract that you're referencing, they agreed.
Well, they're not committing to anything. We may beg them, please take this, and they could say, no, we're not going to. So either side can walk away from that, there's no obligation. They're basically saying we do go with them, then we accept their terms, what their fee is gonna be, and they certainly would want that.
Sure.
'Cause like Tom said, that's where they're gonna get their money in.
Get paid.
yeah,
So,
I just don't think we ought to be bailing out on a contract with him without having a conversation with the entity
call
that
up.
did it.
I don't think we're bailing
we're
out.
not bailing.
Well, I thought you wanted to avoid these.
No,
I thought you said
Let me-
avoid.
No, let me clarify. There is 2 underwriting engagement letters dated July and September, dated and signed. Those don't match anything that's being done. The August 4th, and they need to be voided, because it just
I
clouds the
just
water.
said, I thought you were recommending we void those.
Those 2, the August 4th letter is the one that we're recommending be signed, because that was the one in response to the BOCC's request for corrections and clarification.
The wrong one got set.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay, so
And
that's the
I also want to clarify that Nate has not been, when we asked to have a meeting, it's kind of like having an executive session, because we wanted to have a conversation, a dialogue, and we weren't able to have that with them, because then there would be misunderstandings. We have had dialogue with Nate, he's totally on board, he's totally willing to do what we want. He completely understands that it was a document miscommunication on our part, and we're trying to get it straight and on track. So, I don't think Nate will have any problem with whatever he decides to do.
And it's the same document he has in his hand now.
Correct.
And he signed it, we have. So
Yeah, this has
you can
Nate's
play those other
signature on it.
You have it there.
Yeah, it has his signature on it.
Signature on it already, we're just gonna sign it. And then, boy, those other two that aren't relevant.
Right, correct. Clint, is there anything that has to be done to the original RFP as far as signatures or timelines? Because that timeline ended, and it needs to be
Which,
extended.
then, that was an issue because of COVID anyway, and that was,
Correct.
I don't know if legally, how would you view that? Because we put everybody on hold, remember, both contractors.
Right.
At the same time.
If we get this straightened out and everything, we can be on the exact timeline that they put in their proposal. We won't be behind or anything like that. Just as a point of information.
So, we asked them to do it verbally, everybody stood down. The timeline is still achievable,
Yes.
and all we need to do is sign what we already have there.
Yes, if you want it to, if Clint advises you to have a different date on there so that it's more current to this conversation, he's more than willing to send you a new one that's redated.
Dated,
Yes,
and he'll sign it, and then we'll sign that.
right,
Yeah, I'd like to have the current
That
data.
makes sense to me.
right.
But, I mean, to go to the extreme, that Steve was talking about, I think is hyper-technical.
I do too.
It just isn't necessary to do that. We've got a document here that I'm satisfied with, and it clearly does not obligate the county to, enter into, or, to hire them. And,
But it opens the door so that we can continue.
yeah, I mean, at this point, they're just saying if, and it doesn't even set a specific date. It says pay us an underwriting discount not exceeding a particular number. So that's still open for negotiation, even if, the bond issue passes. Then we can start negotiating with them whether that's gonna be the amount, that's the top amount that is pretty much locked in by this. We could also ask, at that time, do an RFP for others and see if somebody comes in at a lower number that they're willing to do the underwriting for, so.
But we don't have to.
No, we don't have to. I mean, if we've gotten to that point and we're comfortable with the work they've done, I think we can just go ahead and, it's all part of the same package deal, what they're doing for us, as far as I'm concerned.
So that clears it up for me. That was the issue, that's why those were carbon copies of it, because it wasn't the same document, but
Right.
it should have been.
But I would ask him to send an updated, and show Bill as the one that we'd be signing now, because this was for Tom's signature before. But, since Bill's the chairman now, I guess he'd be the one signing this.
I think I have another copy.
Did that clear up your question?
Well,
Frankly, it's not a big deal whether you avoid the previous ones or not. This one supersedes anything
Seems
else.
like that supersedes it, because that's, I don't even know why they sent the other one to us, because the other,
date on it. I mean, we could ask, if you want to, we could ask Nate to put language in this supersedes all previous letters of engagement that were submitted.
No, I see a copy of that.
Glenn's got it.
You need this one with his signature on it?
So, that's a given. We'll need to have this updated with the state. And it opens the door for the securities agreement later on.
Yeah, which is a whole separate negotiation as far as I'm concerned.
Which is right, because things change, like you pointed out. It could be bonds, a combination, it could be anything, and that would require them to,
If you fund the whole thing through property tax or sales tax
you
or
don't even
something.
have bonds. You can't commit to having them do the bonds, not do the bonds.
So Kelly, would you have kept a copy of the sign?
I never got any copies.
We never signed. I don't know why we didn't get, I think I know why, because it got lost in the commotion of, COVID, and, Kara sent the wrong, thing back, thought it was the right thing, and it didn't get checked.
We do need to let Brit's company know on their, agreement for them doing the voter
We should
survey.
probably vote on that. Right?
Well, but if you do, then they should delete the word criminal justice center.
And insert Custer County under the protection.
It needs to be reworded, that should just be, where Custer County appears in bold type, Custer County therefore, as to the extent allowed by law, should put Custer County after that. Therefore, as to the extent allowed by law, Custer County agrees to indemnify.
Facts supplied, therefore, to verify facts. You better read, I think it's more than that.
We cannot undertake to verify facts supplied by Custer County. Therefore, as to the extent allowed by law, Custer County agrees
So
to
you're gonna add
indemnify.
Custer County.
Need to put it in there again.
Right after the comma, after
Yeah. I mean, if this came before a judge, you know, if we ever came down to that, a judge is gonna say, well, it's pretty clear what the intent was. We're not gonna, you know, hold somebody or clobber them for that, but yeah, that should be, Custer County should be in there twice.
and then just strike criminal.
And strike criminal on them. Those would be my suggestions as far as their letter, their agreement to go forward. Spend the rest
Right
of
under scope of work, right at the end of that first sentence.
Yeah, potential criminal justice center project, it's just justice center project.
Well, I would make a motion that we, sign and accept and sign, this contract with the Brits Company with the, changes made, striking criminal out of that, sentence under scope of work to be performed, and adding Custer County in the middle of the paragraph under protection of B.C. Frederick Poles, directly after the comma, following laws.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the contract, as presented with corrections to strike criminal out of, the scope, first sentence in the scope, and then add Custer County agrees to identify the whole department. Moved and seconded, all in favor, Kevin? Discussion.
So council, you had read an email from Bauer, correct?
Yes.
And he mentioned polling in there?
No, I don't think let me find that again.
Yeah, I thought he did.
Yeah, he said bundling a financing/underwriting commitment together with an agreement for surveying public opinion, which was covered by an RFP, does not avoid the necessity of an RFP specifically for a financing/underwriting commitment. So
He's just acknowledging they're two different things.
Right.
yes,
Yeah, I hope, when it's all said and done, Brits and Frederick will go, my God, I cannot believe the response we got from our polling efforts in Custer County. They think 125 is gonna be statistically accurate. I hope they get about 700.
yeah, I was questioning that number too.
Yeah. Well, he's just saying he hopes they'll get 125 responses. If they do a good job, this county, I think, will respond a whole lot more than 125 people.
Yeah.
I don't know how many they're gonna cap. They talked about it the other day about, well, we're not gonna poll 700 people. And I think Shannon and I both said, well, I'll guarantee you'll get more than 125 responses if you ask for it, so.
I would like to know how they come up with 125 statistically important. That depends on the county size, or does it?
I'm assuming it's based on population,
It's some
registered voters.
scientific way of doing it, which doesn't seem to be enough.
I just hope we shoot their number out of the water. That's all.
Yeah,
I expect we will. Prove them wrong, that's exactly right.
Custer County.
All right, any other discussion, we'll move on. All right, wait. All in favor?
This is accepting Rich and Frederick polls, aye.
Candace? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, got it. Now we need to sign the agreement that we've got updated. That's the next order.
I would ask Ann to tell Nate Eckloff to send an update with it,
Yeah.
just a current date on it, with your name on it is the one to sign.
That's where I think we will get them to sign and send it back to us.
And assuming that it's identical to this, do you want to vote on signing this now, or
Yeah.
Tom is saying that?
As screwed up as we are, I'd like to see what we're signing. That's me.
Well,
I
obviously,
appreciate the work that the committee's done, I don't mean to disparage that, this is a technical question, who should be representing this commission? Should it be the committee?
The county represented by us, and I don't, neither one, no one of us would sign it.
My question to council was,
What is
should the chairman contact Nate?
Right.
Or should that be the committee? That's what,
I thought that's
well, the
what I-
committee has made its report to the board.
Right.
And I think now, since we're talking about entering into a formal agreement, this is probably where the board should take
Right.
over and,
we were just saying that the
No,
committee should.
I was saying, no, I didn't say the committee. I said, no, I said the commission. That would be, I would represent, just like you did before.
I agree with you, Tom. It should be
You know,
from Bill, and he's had communication, and he can get that, he can get both documents updated.
yeah, as Shannon alluded to in the last meeting, it's not the committee's job to function as this board of county commissioners dealing with Nate Eckles. They may not like what we're doing, but it's not their decision.
That's correct.
And I just heard you say that Ann can
No.
contact
No, I did
Nate.
not, no.
I'll just clarify it with Clint.
Okay, Clint said that, and so, I just don't think the committee should be dealing with this kind of stuff, this is commissioners, that's all I'm saying.
That's right. And what and let me tell you, if they were operating, to deal with them, to present options to us, that's what they did today. And so, that's correct, you don't represent the county. I don't think you were asked to do this.
All we were doing, Tom, was to get in fact, I spent days going through all the BOCC minutes and pulling out anything with reference to the Justice Center, and you can see where it started the spiraling. And so the only purpose was to get this straight, on track, so that things can move forward, and get this done timely.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit, no problem. I know that you know more about the timing of this whole process than I do, because I haven't researched it. I know that. I'm not trying to disparage you or the committee
Oh,
work.
no.
I'm just trying to get these lines drawn of what should we be doing
And it's the same
The
thing.
committee can do whatever they want, they're charged with making recommendations to
That's
this
right.
committee, or to this commission. I understand that, so I appreciate your work. I have not taken the time, let's put it that way. And you have, and I appreciate and respect you for that. You know a lot more about this than I do. As far as the legal stuff, that goes right over there to Brown Jacket, in my opinion. Steve Bauer can have his comments, but he's not gonna drive what we decide legally, that's your job.
I appreciate his
Yeah.
being very meticulous about
And
this,
we asked him to get a hold of him.
but I think everything's covered now. I mean, I'm satisfied that we can go forward on this, and, I think it's all taken care of as far as I'm
Right,
concerned.
so I will call Nate and have him send it in.
Well, like the Lone Ranger said, my work is done here.
I know, I feel
He said,
like,
get out of the way.
Well, that's also the end of the agenda, isn't it?
yeah.
All right, any other, items, comments, public comments?
Is it Bill coming in? Is that what-
This doesn't have anything to do with that, we're going to talk about the job center. What would the start date be of the PIO position?
Good question. Well, I think we were willing to do that initially, but,
Did Donna respond?
That's her question, what would the
Oh,
start
okay.
date be of the PIO position?
It's been decided long before we offered the job.
but I think we discussed.
I think the one that you chose was ready to start very soon. So it's
We can make it, immediately,
March 1.
March the 1st.
HR standard,
March 1. 1970.
I do. The sign, what I wanna talk about is the communications in an emergency, which you're doing with the information officer, things like that. But our departments, we used to have alerts on the website, the old website. The new website, you don't see any alerts. So then you have to go to all the different departments to find out who's having an alert. This is more than a full-time job for a citizen. We all don't have Facebook. The Everbridge, I don't know if they do reverse 911s anymore or anything like that, but communications are very difficult to get. Those signs I thought were gonna be used for emergency notices, like when you have the blockage in the town, because the detour type of thing. I think it just needs to be looked at. We're not gonna solve it today, but it's very frustrating.
That's a good
Great
point.
point.
Yeah, very good.
Well, yeah, one of those signs should have been hooked up and drugged down there somewhere,
Right.
probably by the highway intersection or something.
Yeah, whatever they deem is most effective, but,
That's one piece of what you pointed out. The other point is, go to somewhere to find out what's going on in the county.
right. And I know, our radio station isn't fixed up for that, but maybe we could buy some time on there, and that they don't like to do political, but somehow we have to have another avenue
Or
for
emergency.
people to get. We went 5 days in one of those storms with no internet, phones, or anything. So, you know, that makes it, you're not gonna get communication at that point. Then it's neighbor to neighbor. But there has to be other ways other than just Facebook.
Yeah, we've had this conversation multiple times with our IT director, and his opinion is that, number one, it is hard to manipulate websites quickly and accurately. He believes 90% of people in our county automatically go to Facebook. Well, I guarantee you, I'm one of the 10 that do not. There's another one that does not, right?
Me either, and I can tell you a whole slew, and maybe it's a generational thing, but that's what we have to accommodate is the differences, so that people do get the message, or you don't have a family struggling. Trying to even find contact information is difficult.
I jumped on all the websites for this thing down at Lowe's Grocery, nothing. That's when I called Shannon, he said, I posted it almost 2 hours ago on Facebook. I said, okay. Then I contacted our IT guy and said, you get something on this county website, because not everybody goes to Facebook.
That's one of the things I was referring to earlier, that's why we need somebody.
And on top of that only, that's why it was great.
You know, and it is probably a generational thing, but I refuse to get swept up in that generation.
I agree. I totally agree. There's also another communication that I heard was advertised other than Everbridge. Is that, and I had not heard any advertising about it, is there another
About
means?
FirstNet or,
I don't know.
Everbridge does do it.
Everbridge doesn't.
Recom does reverse 911, I believe. I'm going to their meeting tomorrow, so.
I think that's what I was thinking about.
I don't
But we
think
hadn't heard about it.
Everbridge is alert and warning, but,
that came up.
That would be good information for you to find out.
Yeah.
well, I already know Everbridge is an alert and warning system that you have to subscribe to. Subscription is free, but you have to sign up for it. If you're not signed up for Everbridge,
I have.
But, the reverse 911, I had heard, is not, that I think it's do currently, but I don't think.
Correct. Recom.
Well, it's just good to think about, because if we had a massive disaster in the county, how are you gonna let people know that they're help and things?
I know for evacuations and things of that nature, they do, I believe they're still using the reverse 911, so.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, believe it or not, we're still suffering growing pains moving to Recom. But, take care, thank you.
Slow down.
Next time I wave goodbye, hopefully it'll be the fastest.
That's just a point to let y'all know it's not easy to do. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments?
I have a comment.
Go.
So, several years ago, John Naylor wrote a policy that, any departments within the county file with me copies of grants, contracts, agreements, all of that. It's in state statute that I keep the Board of County Commissioners stuff on file. And over the last year and a half, that's really gone by the wayside with the Board of County Commissioners. And this stuff with Piper Sandler is a perfect example. I spent a good portion of a day looking for those 3 documents because I never received a copy of them. So, and a lot of that is the administrative person, and this is not on you, Tina, because you're new, but you've been through, since 2015, Tina's your 5th administrative person. And so, you gotta
about 3 months.
really drive that home.
That's not my plan.
I don't mind looking for stuff when I know right where it is, and I know that I have
Know where
it.
it should be.
And it's important to keep this stuff, because 10 years down the road, if you're looking back for it, you don't have it. And so, can I just ask that we really try to step up
Well,
on
it'll
that?
help, we've had, unfortunately, we've had some turnover, and that's too bad, and that turnover process needs to be, the process of what that job is needs to be trained.
Yes. And I think that people don't understand my connection to the board, and they look at your administration person as that they take care of a lot of stuff, but I take care of a lot of stuff for you guys.
By statute.
By statute.
I think, from my perspective, document, these are perfect examples to talk about, like for Sandler, we made a decision. Sometimes those documents require all three commissioners, sometimes they require the chairman's signature. While I was chair, I would sign a document, typically hand it to the administrative assistant, because I'm not gonna mail that document. That document should go to you, and then you decide. But generally, you would have said, make a copy of that, make sure I get the original, you make a copy. We never get signed copies back.
Right.
I got all kinds of contracts in my computer, none of them are signed.
Right.
Because we get them in a board packet unsigned, we take action on them in a meeting.
Then we send them out.
They go to one of you two, and that's the last we ever see of them.
Right.
That may be a problem.
That's okay, if it's a process that is followed.
And maybe, you know, when you sign it, it would be best to give it to me.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I
Then
can,
you
I
decide
can
what you
scan
wanna do
it
with
and send it to all three of you, so you've got signed copies. I put a copy in my file, and then I give it to Tina to
You
send
copy,
out
do
to
whatever,
whoever,
mail
or
it, or-
whatever.
Well, anytime you get one, that's what you should do, whether it's coming from her directly, because we have to be in the room, go get this together, or whatever.
Well,
So we always get a copy back.
Right.
Generally, you'll be at every board meeting we have, unless there's something going on, but, yeah, so maybe that literally, physically, we hand that to you, and you decide what you wanna do with it. Right?
Yeah.
And then you're in control of it, as you should be,
And then you keep whatever copy you get your hands on.
Yeah, Tina has asked me, hey, do you have a signed contract, or a signed copy of this or that? And I look, and I don't, because we never get the signed contract back. We only get what we have in our board packets initially.
Right.
Kind of speaking on that, can we put a moratorium on turnover?
Yeah. Everybody hired, you can't.
That's real lifer. Wait a minute, Bill just doesn't have like, what, 3 months?
You're close to your tenure.
I'd like to
Trent
publicly thank Ms. Ruth back there for offering to provide lunch for us today between the interim, between now and the Board of Health meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
More than thanks, boy,
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Been smelling it
I
all
would
morning.
like to, one thing I neglected earlier, if I could, I'll try to be really brief. I have been in contact, with someone who was looking, and that's not anything that was on our agenda now, but, the VSO position, but was looking more of at a part-time position. And I did inform them that it
Need an
had,
applicant, haven't they?
yes, they have not turned one in to date, but was interested. I did inform them that it had pretty much turned into a full-time position. But they did state as well that they do have contacts, personally know the person at Fort Carson in charge of the Wounded Warrior in Fort Carson, other good contacts, and they would be willing on a part-time basis or volunteer basis to help whoever does end up in that position. But I neglected to bring that up earlier, so I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Well, you bring up a good point. I wonder if we ought to
Take a day to
talk about dealing with this DSO position. We can't afford to let it go vacant very long, or we're gonna be causing all kinds of issues with our veterans.
Well, we could, we got 3 applicants. I hadn't seen the third.
I had only known of one, so I'm behind the curve on that.
And then back, see, we got everything convoluted. 'Cause one of the questions came to me was, would the DSO officer have to be a county resident? That's a decision will be made about policies and procedures. Everything's been done, well, that's what we think.
Right now, though, it isn't. They've had people from other counties help.
There's precedence for department heads to live in the county, but there's nothing in writing about that.
I wonder, because that would be odd to have the county run by people that don't live in the county. You're elected by the people in the county.
If you're elected.
Yeah.
But if you're the road and bridge supervisor,
Road
or
bridge,
public hotel, VSO,
Well, we get a lot,
landfill.
we get a sheriff's department, with people that,
Well, he's elected, so that's,
but my point is, he has employees that are out of town.
sure, yeah.
Well, and I think that's a necessity because of the base. I think if you, I'm hearing what you're saying, the county, the department heads need to be. I think if you had employees, if you had open positions, and this would probably do something for the workshop, if you have 2 employee applicants of equal value, preference should be given to a county resident over a non-county resident. If you do not have the opportunity to hire inside the county, we need to be able to go outside the county.
Yeah, and unless you have that in your policies and procedures, that'll never stand up to the EEOC. The only thing that right now is on the books is give preference to a veteran. That's it.
So, and I think maybe that's something we need to discuss in our workshop.
What he's saying is that he's the most qualified, get it, whether they're in the county, other than the,
Yeah.
veteran.
I was speaking of equal qualifications.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know that we can afford to wait until our workshop to make a decision about that. I think we're gonna have to decide.
Decide what,
Does that VSO officer live in the county or not?
the only thing that I would say right now is it would, not be a requirement. The requirement is you be here 24 or 8 hours a day, take care of the people in the county, because you live out here, do something a year. Just because there's no other policy.
Yeah, there's nothing written.
So we can still hire a guy, take a look at it. Do we know whether they're in the county or not?
Well, we need to make a decision about what we want to move forward with. I got issues with our county and the VSO. I've voiced those numerous times, but it's the way it is, and I get that.
The issue is what,
That I think our county should serve our county's veterans. That's not the way the system is.
that's not the way it's the other kind of, because that's,
Anybody can be
anybody
served by our
go to
county.
any county to get the.
So if anybody can be served by our county, we pay the bill for that. And I think certainly we have the right to say you either are a county resident or you're not.
Well, I don't think you can legally, that's the problem. The veterans, that's why it's available in any county, that a veteran could be anywhere.
I'm not talking about veteran services, I'm talking about the VSO office. I think we do have the legal right to
Oh, as far
determine
as
whether
hiring,
they're a
yeah.
resident or not. I'm not talking about servicing the veterans.
Okay.
I agree, that's the way it is.
And your opinion on that?
I'm kind of leaning towards not being a county resident. Somebody could live a half a mile inside the county in Hillside and have as much trouble getting to work as somebody that lived a mile on the other side of the county line.
Yeah.
Well, and part of
That's
that
where we are now.
is girded by, hell, the state seems to think it's fine that we spend our taxpayer dollars and their state dollars helping veterans all over the state. So if that's their attitude, I'm fine with that, I've digested that, and I think we're probably on solid ground to say we're gonna open it up and let anybody apply. If they wanna live in Denver and come up here,
If they're here
Whatever.
at 8 in the morning and leaving at 4 in the afternoon,
John Carroll would take big exception to that attitude, though, that's the problem. He knows as well as we should know that is not an 8-hour job.
That's right, that's my point. And so the job requires you to be here to service the veterans, and if you're not here when they need you,
Well, you said as long as he's here to make the
no,
board.
as long as it's, well,
That's,
that was just a mistake. It could be, whatever the job is. It's what our requirement is. You service a guy at 6 o'clock at night and needs some help, you gotta be available. That's the requirement of the job. So a guy from Denver, they don't apply.
you might be surprised.
Well, but that's when you cut it, that's how you cut it during the interview process. Whether you're qualified or not.
Well,
And part of that is can they make the job or not.
they live. And you just said it doesn't matter where you live.
That's right.
You can't give preference to somebody that lives
Unless
closer than further away.
they're not as qualified.
Was it in the announcement for the job position? That they
None
had
of
to
these
live-
are, none of that's the county quote policy. You put a job out there and wherever you apply from, you know, it's how smart you are. If I'm in Denver, I'm not gonna apply. Unless I got a place I'm gonna live in up here.
It was not in the vacancy announcement because there's no policy about it.
If I eat back to that, is our policy, that's my point. We put it out to anybody and they can apply.
Not gonna help you relocate either.
That's right, doesn't say, it's gonna give you
Don't
moving.
be nowhere else.
Yeah.
Right, that's not it.
One of the applicants does not live in this county.
Where is it?
Not going to divulge that today.
Well, it's not Denver, is it?
Not going to divulge that.
Doesn't matter, he's not.
Canyon
No, that's
City.
exactly right. Doesn't matter where he lives. The fact is, he doesn't live in this county. So are we gonna open it up to non-residents, or are we gonna make it a resident
That
only?
guy probably is applying because he thinks he can be here somehow. So we're gonna have to.
Because we shouldn't be making our decision based on where we have an applicant from. It has nothing to do with it.
That's right.
So,
Exactly.
I think we need to give Don a direction about, we made a decision. You either live in the county or you don't. I think we need to do that today.
Okay, I move we accept anybody, anywhere for the job.
I'll second it. For the VSO job, specifically,
Consider.
right?
And then we can address the rest at our
Every
workshop.
policy meeting, right?
Okay, then move second, any discussion.
She's still waiting on an answer, I'm assuming. Darn.
Donna, get back to us.
She did not get back to me, but I did let her know the start date. I haven't heard back from her.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna accept that. It provides this pass.
Right.
All right, then, call for vote. Kevin,
Public comment,
I did. Five, I don't know. Anybody else? Okay, let's vote on it. Tom, you be first.
Aye.
Kanda, aye. Kevin?
All right.
Good deal. See if you can get a hold of her. Does this phone work now? Can we, cell phone work now?
Since this one's on flex.
I move to adjourn.
All right, good move, we don't have to have a second.
You do if I make the motion.
Well, then, do. For a second? I'll second it. Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
I didn't think Jeff was gonna vote aye. I thought he was gonna vote no.
Any word?